Take your seat, we will get going. We will start the meeting of life here today. This is our official meeting. We've been meeting for the last 5 weeks. This is the May 5th, the 1st of May meeting. We will talk a little bit more about the agenda, but if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great. Thank you. Usually I have some kids do it. I don't see any kids here today, so we're going to have to do it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So if you haven't been here, I see some newbies. A lot of you are frequent flyers. When you come into the right is the agenda right on the wall there. So if you want to grab that, I will kind of walk you through it as kind of the master of ceremonies on that. I called the meeting to order. If you could do the roll call, clerk, please. Thank you.
Councilmember Carter.
Present.
Councilmember Janetti.
Here.
Councilmember Krenz.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Morosky Brown.
Here.
And Mayor Turnbull.
Here. We have a full complement here tonight. Great. Thank you. So we will go to number three, the approval of the agenda. So the agenda tonight, there's only 3 things on the major agenda. One about generators and the ordinance, and we'll talk about that. Different water activities and fees, and 3 will be the minutes. If you're here to talk about any of those 3 things, I will open it up at that time. So you'll get 2 minutes on each one of those. When we go to the public comment here, if there's anything not on the agenda that you want to talk about, I'll make sure. If you're here to talk about any of those 3, I'm going to open it up at that time. So, and you'll get a chance. Even if you talked earlier, you can talk on every one of them. You okay? Didn't mean to crack you up there. Duly noted. So at this point, we're going to go to number 3, the approval of the agenda. And those are the 3 things we have. Is there anything to add or to delete on that tonight? So I'm looking for a motion to go forward on the agenda.
So moved.
Okay. Do we have support of that?
Support.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I think we can do this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, we have an agenda. So again, those are the 3 things on the agenda. We officially said those are the 3. If you want to talk about those, you can wait a little bit and be on that. So now, this is public comment. Anything that's not on the agenda. And I would ask, you're lined up already. Great. Just sign in on your name, just your name and address. And it's a 2-minute deal. It won't go any longer. There's a timer on that. Just come on up. And the next person, when she's up there, the next person in line might just sign in. Just make sure we get all the names right and the whole bit too. So it's all yours, Ms. Schneider. Well, previously in life.
Hi, Mr. Mayor Turnbull.
You bet.
All right.
And name and address.
Yes, you bet. Right now?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Susan Young.
He will move that towards you.
Okay.
And I will give you extra time because he is working.
This is my first time speaking
Yes.
here.
It's okay.
Give me a
And
little
no,
grace.
there's an awful lot of
Sorry
people
about
online,
that.
probably 60 or 70 people. We do that, your name and address.
Okay.
So they can
That's
hear you
great. All
online
right.
tonight too.
You can hear. Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank
And
you
they're
so
open
much.
to do that too. Go.
Start.
Yep. Don't worry. I'm not going to cut you off. Come right
I
ahead.
appreciate
Yep.
it. And I apologize. I need to use notes because this just happened today.
Great.
So thank you so much. I'm Susan Young. I live at 254 Linden Street, so right over in town. It's nice to see you, Mayor Turnbull.
You bet.
My neighbor there, Mr. Council Member Krenz. Hi there. I live just outside. Everyone knows where Linden Street is. I live just on the other side of the newly opened social district for this season. I'm not here to oppose the district itself. I understand the idea of creating space for community engagement, but I do need to talk about something that is very urgent. Earlier today, coming home from the Henry Ford Museum with my almost 3-year-old son in the back seat at the intersection of Dunlap and Center, we were nearly T-boned by a young driver. This is an intersection where the lights are blinking red. This driver likely knew and unfamiliar with the area, ran stop signs, nearly hitting us. Had I not stopped, he would have ran right into the door where my son was sitting. Since the social district closed, and the main center to vehicles, traffic has been rerouted through the surrounding neighborhoods. It causes traffic confusion, congestion, and as we saw today, and I experienced today, and sadly not the very first time for myself and many other mothers that I am close with, real danger. Blinking red lights at complex intersections may not be intuitive to new drivers. More importantly, the neighborhoods with children are now handling volumes of traffic never designed to accommodate this. This is a serious public safety concern. I also cannot ignore my experience as a therapist and human behaviorist.
Go right ahead, just for a little bit.
Thank you. Human behavior is highly conditioned by consistent cues. For most of the year, this intersection operates with standard red and green traffic signals. Drivers, especially newer ones, are conditioned to expect this pattern. Suddenly switching to blinking red lights introduces ambiguity and forces split-second judgment calls that not all drivers, especially inexperienced ones, are prepared to make. It's not about negligence. It's about predictable human behavior in response to this environmental change. When we change the rules of the road without sufficient recognition or guidance, mistakes become inevitable. So I encourage council to please consider return to the red and green traffic lights, increase traffic enforcement officers to ensure traffic regulation, and reassess how traffic is being redirected and ensure alternative routes prioritize safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. First one, we were had a lot going on, gave her a lot of leeway. Everybody try to do that at 2 minutes because we have a lot of people speaking. I'll go online too, everybody that's on there. So from there, thank you very much, Susan. Come right up. Who's ever next? Anybody else would like to speak tonight? Going once? Yeah, come right up. Nope. All right, you can go. That is a line, I believe. Yep. So if you want to, just form a line right over there and you can sign in before. So one gets done. Let's do the next one.
My name is Patricia Karagian. I live at 422 Dubar Street, your neighbor. I don't have as wonderful of notes as she had, and I'm very sad for the circumstance that happened today, and I can see how that inevitably will happen. On that note, whatever is decided, it needs to be on a more consistent basis, whether we close them or open the streets. I've noticed in town, some days they're open and some days they're closed. It needs to be more consistent with more signage. So the reason I'm here today is not to request one or the other. I see the advantages of both. I see the disadvantages of both. But I do believe we need more parking in the city with increased traffic, with the new Downs development, all the homes being developed on Center Street. You know, people say, oh, of course they're going to walk into town. Well, not everyone can walk up the hill. In inclement weather, they may decide to drive. So we have a lot more traffic in town. So we definitely need more parking. So I think a compromise would be adding a single-story parking structure behind the former Marquee Theater. And some might think that's an eyesore. A single story wouldn't be as terrible as a multi-story building. And you could also do green space on the top level to make it look more attractive. So again, I see the advantages and disadvantages of closing the streets. I walk my dog downtown every day and he likes to crisscross. So we enjoy that. But the safety situation is an issue as well. But from a parking perspective, I would just like to request that consideration be made for an attractive looking parking structure. We've got that giant parking lot behind the Marquee and possibly consider doing a structure there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. One of you two, Rebecca or Ms. Poole.
Hi.
Over there.
Yes, 137 East Main, the little Salumi. This is always very hard for me because I do not like to speak out. I really like to just be behind the scenes, but here we go. I find myself at the podium again, pouring out my heart, almost like I'm in a bad breakup. As Let's Open Up Northville versus City of Northville lawsuit rages on and everybody continues to dig their heels in deeper. The issue will continue to fall on deaf ears, but we will continue to ask to be heard, fight for our small businesses and some sort of compromise with weekend closures. This is the first Monday for street closures and it's already crippling sales for us at the sandwich shop. We're down 32% last Thursday through Sunday to this Thursday to Sunday. That's a lot. 32% is a lot. I'm thankful for my growing catering business that will continue to be harder over the next 6 months. As I've stated several times before, we only have a front door for pickup. We love our community and our guests, and it's hard to field snarky comments and negative feedback for street closures that is completely out of our control. Even with my amazing team helping carry orders to cars, it's harder with larger orders. I ask again, please hear what myself and other local businesses are saying. The people who actually own businesses in town. Regardless of all of it, we make this community together and try to make a living doing the things we love most. Many of you are in town, but when is the last time that you patronize businesses that are in opposition of street closures? I will dismiss Laura because the Genetti crew and family is with us almost an embarrassing amount and give us business. But instead of being exclusive, come see us too. We also need the love from all of you. I have dates and numbers from everybody because everybody loves data that I can look up on my computer. And it's been a while. No one here except for Genetti's has been in my shop in 2025. So come on in, George, come say hello. You've never been in. So come and help us, you guys. Like, we're fighting to save a community we love just the way that you're fighting to save it the way you think it should operate. But we are also the heart of this community.
Yep. Thank you. I try to get my Cokes there all the time, but, and you provide it for Rotary, so I have to get there more. Thank you. Go ahead. And no clapping or booing tonight, you know, part of the arrangements with the state. Go right ahead, Rebecca.
Rebecca Good, 134 North Center, and also the Michigan store at 136. There's so much to go over. I just want to reiterate what she said about business being down. With Center Street, and I'm just talking about Center Street, it truly, over the last couple of years, has diminished business. The weather has to be perfect for people to come out. I open at 7:30 in the morning. When the streets are open, people are pulling up in front, they're driving by, I'm getting exposure, I get traffic, there's more people at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10. Literally, the minute the close down happens, crickets, there's nothing. There's the same 10 to 15 people they walk their dog, they jog, and that's great, but they're not window shopping, they're not there. There comes a point where the same people keep walking by your business. They're not looking in. They just do their thing. They're very predictable. Everything's planned out. They walk, they do this, and nobody comes. And it's true. It's not, I'm not just saying this. Nobody would be up here or talking about that the Center Street closure is bad for business if it helped business. I would never be up here if it wasn't hurting business. We are absolutely down just 30, 40% Saturday. There was a time in the restaurant where there was not one customer. I've never seen that happen in 27 years I've been there on a Saturday, but there was nobody. And I know it was a little cold, it was a little cool, but I guarantee that if the street was open, we would have business. I can give, again, I have 27 years worth of weather data, traffic, business flow. It's not people blame it on, oh, it's the economy, that's why people aren't coming. No, it's not that. Center Street is not is not Main Street. Main Street's beautiful. It has things going on. What do we have on Center Street? We have 5 benches and 4 or 5 tables, and there's no activation, there's no plan. It's not a finished product. Center Street's not finished yet, and we have nothing really to offer on Center Street to people for them to come. I'm sorry I'm going a little over, but I read something that for a viable walking pedestrian area, you need 10 to 15,000 people a day in town. I have 30 or 40 people during the day walking by the restaurant. And I wish people would come in and just sit in the restaurant, look out the window and see that there's nobody. And at Sundays when at 3 o'clock, even in the summer, we had a guitar player. They put him out there at 3 o'clock. All the people have left. 3 o'clock, everything ends on Sundays. That everybody packs it up, their kids, you know, they spent the day there, they're winding down and they take their kids home and then we're dead between 3 and 5:30. And then Center Street will get their dinner rush and their crowd for dinner. And then by 8 o'clock, everybody's wrapping up and going home. There's no consistency of business on Center Street.
Thank you.
And sorry, I went over.
Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate it. Thanks for the perspective. Cindy.
Hi, as I was planning my remarks today, I thought I might look up what the definition of a city council, what its purpose is. It's a governing body of people elected to oversee management of a city and represent the interests of residents. This body has been compromised by ego and self-interest. And regarding the Downs situation, here we are again dealing with the conditions of the site. After having a meeting on June 6th in 2024, we were promised a list of things that were going to take place. So far, no water trucks. The cyclone fencing is down in many areas, as well as the dust screening, which is missing or damaged. No ryegrass was planted, no calcium chloride was laid, no sprinkler system, no hay laid on the site, no daily street sweeping with water, no daily on-site person overseeing the project, no daily street sweeping. All of this was promised at our meeting with George, OHM, Justin, Scott Weaver, Andrew Krenz, Laura Janetti. I have a recording of the meeting if you'd all like to refresh your memory of what was promised. Also, I would like to encourage you to resume the actual Zoom meetings. This way of handling it is inconsistent. It's clunky. Nobody can get on. You can get on and watch, or you can get on and talk. There's no, let's just get back to Zoom. That's the best plan. And just a reminder, November's coming.
Thank you, Cindy. Next, who's ever up? Go right ahead.
That brings in 370 Fairbrook. You've been missing for a while, but
We've missed you.
I know I had a heart attack, right?
Yep.
Getting back to like the traffic, the bump out you guys got on Katy Street at Hutton, it's gotta go. You cannot make a right turn off of Hutton going south, to turn right and go east on Katy or left. You're in a truck, like if there's a fire truck there, they couldn't make the turn. If there's another car, it's impossible. That's not a safety feature there. That's gonna cause a big problem. And another thing, I know I can't answer this right now, but I would like somehow for you guys to answer these questions we give you. The roundabout, I've been hearing they're gonna start that early. And the reason they want it, because Toll Brothers wants it done, so they don't get dust when people are coming to look at their townhouses. That's the scuttlebutt I've heard, and I want to know if they're doing it early and what. And I want to know what they're gonna do with my street when they do the roundabout, because where do you think everybody's gonna go? They're not gonna stand 7 Mile and fight around that roundabout, they're gonna come down Fairbrook. So I want a one-way sign on that street or residents only something, because I'm not putting up with that. I'll go out there and throw cones out there every day, I don't care. What's the other one? Oh yeah, another thing. I want a accounting of how much this project has cost us in new hires for retirement, their pay, vacation. I want to know how much we've spent on this project. It wasn't supposed to cost us nothing. And the other thing, in Katy Street, I noticed they had 40 guys out there working last Saturday to get it done. Were those guys all getting double time? Hey, who paid for the Katy Street repair? Supposed to be the contractor or the underpass there, but apparently that wasn't the case. And what else? And there again, people with the traffic is crazy. I was at 7 Mile and Center the other day, going to make a right turn on Center. Light was red for like 10 seconds and the guy flies by me doing about 40, never hit his brakes and turned to go up Wing Street. I tried to figure out where he went, but by the time I got up there, he's gone.
Get that license plate next
I
time.
would have gone, yes.
Anybody else? Mr. Long, you are up.
Jim Long, 190 East Main Street. Last Wednesday, Northville was vibrant. Last Thursday, Northville was desolate. It's desolate every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's vibrant Friday and Saturday and Sunday. I don't know of any pragmatic attempt to come to a compromise. It is said that you people have dug in. I think that's a pretty fair statement. You've heard some real passionate comments here. This is our livelihood. And you're playing, I don't want to say you're playing games with it, but I hope there's real consideration that this is our livelihood and it's being affected. People walking their dogs, people like to walk down the middle of the street and ride their bikes with their kids. This isn't their livelihood. But I know you got to listen to them. 42 parking spaces we're losing. We can get a couple back. Lose a couple more will come out from the restaurants that are going to be out in the parking areas. And there needs to be a compromise. Open the streets from either Sunday night, if you want to do it early Monday morning, you don't have to pay the OT with a DPW. Close it down Friday morning. You got people that aren't going to be happy with this, that want the streets closed all the time. But open them up on the weekends. Now they're going to be happy because that's when the real, what do you want to call it, action is in town. That's when the people are here. So if you got a compromise, you got this group here, may not be totally happy. You got this people here, it's not totally happy. You succeeded. Should be 3 to 4 minutes. You give me a couple. Okay, so my point is this: is if the city council we talk, you can't talk to us. If there could be some kind of a compromise or some kind of a meeting of the minds, maybe even come to a DDA meeting, but you need to think about a compromise. You're messing with people's livelihoods.
Thank you, Jim. Somebody else? Dennis.
Dennis Enger, 999 Cold Spring. I like what Jim just said. You know, I think it's all about compromise. And I think we're getting there. I think, you know, we've been working on this for a long time. You know, the city installed those balusters, which I think are great. You know, before, to try and close the streets and open them back up took a long time with all those cement things and all the stuff that got in the way. Now we can do it quickly. And I love that. And I love when the streets are closed and we have events. You know, on the weekends that can work. But, you know, what I've heard everybody say is that there are a lot of days during the week when, you know, there's nothing happening downtown, and we all want to make things happen downtown. That's why we're all here. Like yesterday when it was raining, you know, all day long, there was nobody in town. You know, we have balusters that we can just drop down real quickly and let the traffic start coming through. You know, that would help everybody. I understand the first lady that spoke that, you know, opening and closing creates other problems in terms of consistency and people not knowing, you know, the traffic patterns. So, you know, I don't know the entire answer, but I love the idea that we've got the flexibility, that we've got these balusters that we can open and close quickly. I love it, you know, the events when we close. I think that's unique. I love it when the streets are open. You know, we've got a beautiful, great downtown. You know, let's use the fact that we have flexibility now and try and make it work. And I appreciate you guys, you know, listening in, you know, to, you know, what we're trying to all say. We all want to do the same thing. We all want to survive. We all want to enjoy this town. It's a great town. I want to do everything I can to make it happen.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Dennis. Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Try not to
Hey,
make this
DJ.
redundant. DJ Ware, 249 Hutton, Northville. I'm on Hutton. You come down Hutton, I'm right across the street from where you walk down into Ford Field. What Brian's leadership has done of opening that up and bringing the water under Hutton and opening all that up with the trees has been fantastic. There's more people coming down to see that than ever before, which also means since May came, it's opened up Hutton again. And we got cars coming down there at 30 miles an hour, and somebody's going to get killed or somebody's going to get hurt really bad. And putting up a system to check the speed of the cars at the bottom of the hill on Hutton, where there's a stop sign, is no place to measure it in April. May is when you need to measure it and either put in speed bumps or put in something to change the speed coming down that hill if you're going to keep these Main Street and Center Street closed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DJ. Anybody else? Mr. Genetti?
Hi, guys. Andy Genetti, 512 Eaton Drive.
Good street.
Yeah, very nice street. A little bumpy, but it's good.
Appreciate that. We'll work on it someday.
Should be on the close. That's
Sorry.
where we should have the closed
We
letter.
appreciate that.
So I'm gonna keep it to 2 minutes because
Yep.
I get paid for jokes now.
Yep.
Thank you to Bob.
Yep.
I just want to know who you got. I'm talking to the public. Who is fighting for these streets? Let's Open Northville has 667 people on it complaining every single day, all day about it. I need the website to the people that are calling the street openers idiots.
And
I
talk
need
to us,
to see
Andy.
their proof.
To us.
I need to see their proof of why they think the streets need to be shuttered all the time. I need a group of people that you guys are talking about. We can't vote you out. Nobody's running against you, which is fine. I get that. I don't think you're all complete crazy, but you are about this issue. And it bothers me that it sounds like there's a text message between 5 of you and 4 restaurants in town. I mean, the second largest restaurant conglomerate in Northville is not here tonight. They're closed. Both places are closed, but they can't come here and tell us why their chairs are going to be tipped up for 3.5 to 4 days with the streets closed. That's what I cannot handle. I would love to. I'm Mr. Party Guy. I want parties all the time. Some
Yes,
people
yes,
don't
you
want
do.
people drinking in the streets and barfing. Susan, I want them. Bring them down. Let's party. Bring your money. You can't do it. You can't keep a bar open in Northville past 9:30. I got kicked out of the World Series. It was the 3rd inning we were asked to leave 2 years ago. I can't, I need to know who's fighting. Send me the website. I need a website for Northville street closures. I hope it's not you 5 and a couple of restaurants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy. Anybody else? Mrs. Schneider.
Terry Snyder, 508 Gardner Street. I just want to make a comment about the safety concerns, especially in the neighborhoods with the street closures. I too witnessed and experienced a very scary incident last year. And the streets had been closed for quite a while. It wasn't just when they first closed it. And I was walking my 2.5-year-old grandson with stroller. And I came to the blinking, flashing lights at Center and Hutton, or rather Main and Hutton, Main and Hutton, right over by the Presbyterian Church.
Main and Hutton.
And the cars were lined up for it seemed like a mile going, on Hutton, and people were just very impatient. And rightfully so, because they have to wait at the blinking lights for their turn to turn or wait. And so when it was their turn, they would just peel around there and go. And I was waiting to cross the street with my grandson, and nobody stopped. Nobody. So I was like, I needed to get across the street. So I raised up my hands. I walked sort of kind of in the middle of the street. I parked the stroller on the side, and I raised my hands up and I said, stop. Myself, putting my own self in danger. And so there I was like, I understand the frustration and the impatience of drivers because it is frustrating. I've had to wait in line to go on these streets. And can you imagine some of this? And I live in Bealtown, same thing. Traffic is outrageous there. And so I'm just saying, for the safety of children and pets and citizens, we need to do something about that because it's a very dire safety hazard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking tonight. Next, we're getting to you, Mr. Neal. I know you want to.
Genevieve Hassas, 134 Center. I'm manager at Rebecca's. So the first thing I'd like to ask is if there has been a study done to prove that shutting the streets down does benefit Northville. It's been a few years now. It's been what, 2-3 years, where longer since COVID, but the streets have been shut down. And is there a benefit to it, right? Like, has it brought more business? Has it brought more foot traffic? I would like to know if there has been a study on that, and if not, like, why not? And if so, what are the results from that? I'm at Rebecca's quite frequently, and I often go out on the streets, Main Center, just to see what the foot traffic is like. It's a ghost town. It is. There's almost nobody on the streets. I take pictures every day at different times. I can show you guys if you would like. And it's a ghost town. And as a consumer, I'm not gonna lie. Like, before seeing it from a business standpoint, it was kind of nice that because it's like has this European feel of the streets being shut down. But did it bring me more to Northville as a consumer? No, it was just kind of cool while I was there. Another thing is that there are no public restrooms, and which become like when people come into Rebecca's, I am not going to turn somebody away from using the restroom, and because we're all human. I want to be, somebody's got to use the bathroom. They got to use the bathroom. Now that does make it harder on us. Sometimes people make giant messes in our bathrooms, and I have been one to clean that before. It's been pretty gross. There's just nothing really big on Center Street to draw people in. The fact that Center Street is closed, I guess I'm not as versed as I could be, I'll admit, but it doesn't make sense to me because there's nothing big there to draw in the crowds. So that weekends, I think weekends would be good to close it just because there's more people. We have more business on the weekends in general, but during the week, it does hurt our business. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Next, who else? We'll get rid of that carpet.
Yeah, I was kidding.
Yeah.
Kevin Hebert, 411 Horton. So Saturday, about 3 p.m., I went out for a jog. I was going southbound on Hutton. And Mr. DJ, I have great empathy for you. Where's Susan? Susan, I super have empathy for. I was going southbound on Hutton. 3 kids on a bike were riding on the sidewalk, which is right next to the street. There's no space to it. It's 42 inches wide, sidewalk's right next to the street. 3 little girls were riding their bicycle. They got right in front of DJ's house on the opposite side of the street, and the parents are yelling, "Wait for us, wait for us." They came to a stop right at the entrance to the park. Imagine that. Kids love going to the park. This is where they're going to go. I look back, I look forward, I switched the side of the street to give them way to stay on the sidewalk. There's a Polestar, dark black or blue, traveling northbound. Nice of you to put up the speed limit sign, the cracker. I look over, I guessed it was going about 50 miles per hour. It was going 48 miles per hour. It's 3,170 pounds. The kids, literally, their heads are like this next to them. It's a disaster waiting to happen. It really, truly is. You guys have created a disaster. 60,000 cars have to go somewhere. They go into the subdivisions. They go into the residential side streets. Kids do stupid stuff. They run out in the street to go get a ball. They run after a girlfriend that crossed the street ahead of them. And unfortunately, I have personal experience. I've looked at a 4-year-old boy that was hit by a car in a residential street, laying in the street with dark red blood coming out his ears. I looked at a 12-year-old girl that was gasping for air because she ran across the street because one of her girlfriends crossed the street. She stayed on this side and she darted out to be with one. She died right in front of me. You guys have no idea what you're messing with. This is very, very serious. All these people are getting up here asking for relief and you don't do it. I don't know it's like a bizarre world. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that'd like to speak? Anybody? Yep. Go right ahead. Susan, you're next.
Allison Long, 190 East Main Street. So this summer will be no different than the previous year since the street closures began. It is a ghost town the majority of the time. Those who are in favor of the seasonal closure, just because they like to enjoy them on the weekends, do not have to live with the negative effects 7 days a week. I know some like to walk their dog or push their stroller in the street, but that is what sidewalks are for. We have a lovely town square. We have wide sidewalks. There is plenty of room for everyone to walk safely on the sidewalk while cars drive down the street. If it is your desire to make Main and Center safer with these closures, you've actually made all the side streets, which were never intended for the amount of traffic, that much more unsafe. For every person who likes to walk down these deserted streets during the day, how many more are not even coming to town now because we are so inaccessible? You recently hired Fishbeck to conduct a downtown parking study. One of their recommendations was to open Main and Center Monday through Thursday during the summer. Why would we continue with the closures that take away valuable parking from customers? You're probably going to say that this matter is settled for this summer. Nothing can be changed now. Please reconsider. You'll recall at a special council meeting last July, you voted to put the advisory question of the street closure on the November ballot. At that time, a majority of you agreed that you would take the results of that vote along with the survey of business owners and revisit that conversation in late November 2024. I remember feeling a little bit of optimism after that meeting. Happy to hear that you were at least open to discussing the future of the street closures before the following summer or the next summer. But none of that happened. We know the question was not allowed on the ballot, but nothing stopped you from revisiting the topic with the data from business owners, property owners, and the residents in the affected areas. Now is the time to follow through with those plans. The street closure has run its course. Please keep an open mind and reconsider your position on these next 6 months.
Thank you, Allison. One of you. David.
David Cole, 121 High Street, Great Harbor Spread, 139 East Main Street. So appreciate everybody talking the way they have in regards to the business and how it impacts us directly. Just want to go on record again. I really appreciate what Dennis was saying in regards to, I think a lot of us really want to make sure that Northville continues to thrive. I mean, we have venerables, we have both longs. I mean, generational families who have been here and compromise, if that's what it needs to be called. It just, if any of us are downtown looking outside the windows, both on Main or Center, Monday through Thursday, man, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I just wanted to state, myself and Julie, we love Northville, all of us love Northville, that's why we're here. Monday through Thursday, opening up Center and or Main makes sense to us. Closing them for the weekends makes a lot of sense so that we can all have a good time and participate in the opportunities of the restaurants, the music, the activity that's going on during that time. But please consider council having Monday through Thursday, the streets being open, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, having them closed. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next, Susan.
Susan Plaga, 112 East Main. Got a lot of businesses, people here today for real good cause. Do good. Thank you, Andy, for the acknowledgement. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm the only resident that lives right in the middle of this show. And none of you seem to know that your police officers can get out of their cars and walk those streets when those streets are closed. when there's people partying at 3 o'clock in the morning. And yes, Andy, I do party with the best of them. Have trained my son well. And you guys got to think about that. There's no reason we don't have officers walking those streets when those streets are closed and people are out there drinking and partying with children. Again, with children. And that's going to be a big thing in my side for life. Those children out there at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't mind them out there. Let them party. I don't care. Get a cop out there. They know how to walk. They don't need to sit in their cars 24/7, and they sit in them a lot.
Thank you, Susan. Do we have a couple more there? Anybody else? This would be your time. Then I'm going to open up for those online too. Yep, go right ahead. You can sign in later.
Other young council, 137 East Main Street. My name's Corey McPherson. My wife owns the Little Salumi. I'm able to come back to work now, which is fantastic. And so the first 2 days, first complaint as a charcuterie order said it was hard for them to take it to their car. And this is like, normally, again, she only has one door, the front. That's where they pull up. That's where they get these kind of things. And these are heavy items that they have to carry across town in the rain. And it's like, that's not something that they asked for. And she just wants a space where she can have her customers like be serviced in a way that's meaningful. And so then it's like the streets are closed. All right, we have no option. There's no back door, there's no exposure, there's no delivery. So everything has to change for her business exclusively, unlike any other person. I don't know if anyone saw the other day, but my wife is lugging a fridge through town because she has to, because the health department's like, you have to change your equipment. Great. So she does that. But then instead of being able to bring her truck up to put it in her shop, she has to now haul this across the town and then she has to haul it out by herself. And then the proposed suggestion to help is like, well, we can lower the ballots. Well, that's money that's spent for her to operate her business, which doesn't make sense. It's like, so every day there has to be a special program for her just to operate her business that doesn't work. And then so it's like that, it takes away from shit. We're down 30%. And then we have to think about our employees as well, because they have to feed their families and they're also down. So it's like, we can't give them that. And like they said with the streets, even though we don't live in the city, we live in the township, Clement now, they have cars going 70 miles an hour. I have a 1.5-year-old who loves to run around and she's fantastic, but it's like, I see that. That is a real thing. That's not just me guessing that, because they had to call the cops to sit on the street to monitor what's going on, because this is a real problem. And I know that like one day, Georgia will be up there doing the same stupid things, driving around fast, but it's like, we have to really think about what's going on, because at this point, this is like something that's not, this like really affected me in my personal life. I almost got ran over crossing the street at the CVS. When I first heard in the first meeting, people like, I almost got hit by a car. I was like, wow, there's a lot of people who said they almost got hit by a car. That's wild. But then it turns out, just living my life, walking with my daughter, I almost get run over by somebody who's not paying attention because it was a stop here, it's a stop sign here. They don't care. That's a real thing for me. You know what I mean? Because like, I almost lost my life. Like they said, over some traffic changes because we're not all paying attention to what's going on. That, again, sorry for the timing, but that's like a real thing. So please, if there's some real solutions for my wife and for those things, like please reach out to us and give them more than just like a special circumstance for her only. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in council chambers?
Neighbors,
Hello there. Hello.
I think Geekus 514 West Main Street, been a resident for over 30 years, seen a lot of changes. I'm wondering if you ever saw that movie Groundhog Day, because that's exactly what's going on here. I just don't understand it. I mean, I really don't get how this is benefiting people that continue to say that it's hurting their business. Who's it hurting if you open the streets Sunday through Thursday? It's not hurting anyone, but closing them, it's having a dramatic effect, not only at the businesses, but all of us that live in the area. Getting out of my driveway is a nightmare during the day or even in the evenings because of all the traffic going on from the Downs building to Our Lady of Victory to you name it. It's just, we don't have the inner city wherewithal to handle all these vehicles. Now we have more people moving in the city and you're cutting off the main streets. So my question is, who is it benefiting by keeping those streets open and who's it hurting by keeping them closed? Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much. Anybody else back there? Mr. Nail, you are next. You've been trying to.
Jeff
get-
Snyder, 5-Way Gardner Street. If I'd known Terry was going to speak, I'd have given her my list because she's more convincing than I probably have been. Very quickly, when you close the streets, it's kind of like the future downs. And I've been up here talking about this before. When you close the streets, the impact's much further out than you, I think you understand. I own two buildings at the corner of 7 Mile and South Main. And since Thursday, it's different there because they're not going straight down Center Street. They're turning right on 7 to come down. And they have two alternates that I've been observing. One alternate is to turn left on River Street, zip down 2 blocks, and then turn right on Beale and then left back on the Center. The other one is they just pile up at that intersection and just create more havoc there. So that does impact it. I can't get out of my own approach. I have to go to the end of Farmers Market at least 4 days a week to sneak out in that direction. So that's just one attitude. I want to also mention something, the different topic is down security. You know, the gates at Griswold Street have not been shut for over 4 months. Do you know that? Last week I took a picture. I was just riding my bike and I caught a picture of 2 kids up on the mound up there. And I have it with me and I'll share it with you guys. And they're up there kicking dirt at about probably 7:30, almost 8 o'clock in the evening. The Toll Brothers site's not locked up. We need to keep the site locked up all the time. You know, these kids they were right up at the edge of where the river is there and there's rebar sticking up out of there. So it's just something to kind of think about. I'm surprised that it hasn't been addressed so far. The other thing is, I want to talk about something I'm passionate about. And I wrote to you a week or so before the meeting. And that's the fact that maybe most people don't know here that, and I've recalculated, I didn't realize that the base of the existing river is solid concrete all the way through there. So my calculations I first sent to you, I think it was 49 million pounds of crushed concrete that are going to be crushed and buried on the site within the riparian zone of the river. It's outrageous. And I know there's a cost implication too, but how in Northville does that happen? Well, I've recalculated now. It's just under 60 million pounds of broken concrete and twisted rebar and garbage. This is going to be dumped right into this river park, you know? And the other thing that kind of bothers me, because I think maybe it flags somebody, is there's no cyclone fence on, a half a mile of the site. But the cyclone fence went up at the Beale Street Bridge. The lookout point that Mary, you used to say, come and look and watch the river process grow from from demolition to channel excavation to this growth, this green, beautiful thing. Well, not only is it covered, I went by one day, it's covered, had a little slit in it. So I went and took a peek. I came back the next day on my bike. Somebody had sewed it up. So what are we trying to hide over there? Maybe somebody's embarrassed about 60 million pounds of freaking garbage being buried in a river instead of hauled off to Nagel Recycling and used to recycle as road base and steel. So
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Mr. Nail, you've been very patient. Take your time.
This is the only city council in the entire United States and the only city manager in the entire United States that's blocking the only north, south, east, west route through a village. The only city council in the entire country after COVID 5 years. It makes no sense at all. You're not increasing merchant sales by closing the only 2 streets between Novi and Plymouth, or between South Lyon and Livonia. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You're the only city council that has 14 school districts trying to bus their special needs kids through town, bouncing back and forth in the school buses. I had 12 ambulance rides myself in 2011. And it is miserable, and it's miserable every day in a wheelchair. It makes absolutely no sense. The superintendent of schools has begged you to keep Center Street open. We only have 3 restaurants that have a food permit for applying to eat in the street. Only 3. 1 on Main Street and 2 on Center. 1 on Center Street and 2 on Main Street. It makes absolutely no sense. This is no way whatsoever to celebrate our bicentennial by closing a Main Street USA.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anybody else in council chambers before I open up online? Dr. Demery, come right up.
William Demery, 371 East Main, 50 years. For some, that means it's time to leave, right? I refuse. I'd just like to reminisce. 2 minutes, 2 cents. I remember 4th of July parades with elephants, miniature stagecoach with miniature ponies turning 360s from curb to curb. A medicine man at the Victorian Festival Citizen of the Year was honored all year. A lighted holiday parade that had thousands in attendance that closed the town so much that many who were trying to get to it never even got there on time. I miss the rivalry between Northville and Plymouth. I miss a time when there were more banks than financial advisors, more flower shops than realtors, more gift shops than attorneys. No offense. More breakfast joint than bars, more children than dogs, more baseball than cornhole. Things are different now. After nearly 200 years, I don't think we need to be reinvented. I can't wait for what's old to become new again. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Is there anybody else in council chambers? Anybody going once? Going twice? I'm closing it off here. I'm going to open it up for anybody that's online. Is there anybody with their hand up online?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, that's great. That's great. How many people are online? Well, for time, they can go on every other. How many people are online tonight?
So you've got 23 people viewing the broadcast.
Okay, 23. Okay. Great. Well, hey, before we do that, why don't you tell them again how they can put their hand up?
Sure. So anybody that's out there that is viewing the broadcast, if you'd like to make public comment, you can follow the top of the agenda. Essentially, there is a toll-free 888 number that you'll call into and then enter the meeting ID. Once you're in the meeting room and public comment is opened up, we will ask that you raise your virtual hand. In order to do that, you press *9 on your keypad. Once your virtual hand is raised, we will call the last 4 digits of your phone number.
Okay. I got you. It's the way the state set it up for us. Is there any, with that, I'm going to give another few seconds to decipher what you said. We've done this many
And
months.
essentially, Mayor, as I mentioned, it's like calling into a radio station. You have a broadcast from the radio station. If you want to make a request, you call in from your telephone.
Okay. So I don't see, do you see any hand raisers at this point?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. I will close this off. They have the chance again to go on the other activities. I'll have you mention that, how to do that. This is how we're one of the few that they can go online. The state set up these policies and procedures just for security. As you know, there's a lot of opportunities in the state and different organizations like Michigan and other things. This has worked. We're not getting quite as much, so it concerns me a little bit that we did before. So great. We've had people in on it, so it does work.
It is deployed in other communities and it works quite well.
Yep, and you do how many communities with?
About a dozen.
Okay, great. So with that, I will go to the next thing online here on our schedule. We went through public comment, but do we have any other written communications, clerk, that have come in today over and above what we have in our package? Everybody has about 200 pages in their package. Is there anything that came in after 4?
Nothing additional.
Okay, thank you very much. So you have everything in your package, all the comments from those. So again, if you can't make it, put something in writing. Everybody has to read it before we're here, before they're making decisions. Try to do that before 4 o'clock. If it comes after 4 o'clock, we will make sure it comes to everybody in hard copy. So I would do that for those that are online and those that are here. That is there in everybody's package. Good. So now we will go to I think you'll get some answers tomorrow. Trust me, there's a meeting already set up for some of yours. Number 5, consideration approving the consent agenda. A lot of different things, on the consent agenda there, from council minutes to garden club events and different activities. Is there anything to add or delete from the consent agenda that you see on council?
No, I'm happy to approve the consent agenda, but I do have a request.
Sure.
And it seems salient, given
Yep.
feedback we received today. It's related to the contract award for pedestrian crossings.
Yes.
So if George, when we get to, at the end, if you could just give something brief on that, just the status, rather than, I'm fine with it in the consent agenda, but just
We'll talk about it.
highlight, just to highlight what's going on
If
with
you'd
it.
highlight that in your closing comments, that'd be great. Excellent.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I wanted to call out as well is item K. I had an opportunity this weekend to walk through downtown, visit a number of our businesses with Gigi. She is a 6-year-old who, after a very long battle with cancer, is home. And we're going to have a celebration downtown with her. A number of our businesses are leaning in and helping as well. It's truly wonderful, and she's an amazing kid. So appreciate all the support from everyone in the community who's leaning in on that.
Very good. Thanks.
K, it's the
Number
Rock
K.
to Love special event.
Oh,
On the 18th.
It's the 18th
Correct,
of
May
this month,
18th,
right?
yes.
18th of this month. For more information, contact us. I'll try to put it in the newsletter this week too. Anything else, add or delete from the consent agenda? With that, I'm looking for a motion to go forward with the consent agenda. Do we have that motion?
no.
So moved.
So moved. Do we have
Approve it.
support? And support? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, we have a consent agenda. Let's go to number 7. No public hearings today. Number 8, unfinished business. We finished all our business. We don't always do that. Number 9, new business. There's 3 things on here. Again, I will let you know on these different things at the end. If you have any comments, you can come up again and have 2 minutes on each one of these. So the first one is consideration of approving the second reading and adoption of the amendment, Article 18, on the air conditioners, condensers. And
Do you want to go back to
generators.
6A, the presentation?
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, great one. Sorry about that. I blew right by number 5. So consideration of approving the following consent agenda. We did that, but now we have 6. And why don't you go through that? It was on the hold of my deal. I apologize about regional transit and the public transit.
So I'll be
It's all
very,
yours. No,
I'll be very brief.
you can be as long as you want.
No,
Go ahead.
I'll be brief. So a couple of months ago, Canton organized a meeting with the Conference of Western Wayne Communities to discuss upcoming changes to Wayne County Transit. So there is a potential millage in 2026 that will affect potentially our Wayne County residents. And so we thought, the communities that met, that there was a decision to explore a collaboration to assess the need for public transit in this area of the county. And so I'm just going to give a very high level overview of recent state level legislative changes that could affect Northville, how they could affect our millage that could be imposed as a whole. So
And everybody online sees these slides up there. Great. Okay, good.
next slide,
Go right ahead.
please. So why are we here now? State House Bill 6088 was signed into law last fall that now eliminates the ability for communities to opt out of public transportation authority. So in our area, that's SMART. And so that's Oakland County, Wayne County, and Macomb County. And so this presentation isn't meant to advocate for or against SMART or any potential millage. It's just sharing information. Next slide. So there's 17 communities in Wayne County that opt out of SMART, 43 communities in all. For the communities that opt in, 71% of those communities renewed the SMART millage in 2022. So it's hard to extrapolate on that, how if all of the communities in Wayne County vote in 2026, where that may go. But for the communities that opted in, 2022, 71%. Next slide.
But the opt-out is now removed. Correct.
Okay.
So it's just hard to extrapolate what all of the 43 communities may vote based on the only opt-in.
Okay, thanks.
So this is a map that shows who's in, who's out. You can generally see that the Western Wayne County communities are out. Detroit is also out. They have their own transportation authority. Next slide, please. Our Oakland County residents are already subject to a transportation millage that was passed in Oakland County in 2022, 57%. So eliminated the opt-out provision for Northville. And that's a 10-year millage that was passed in Oakland County. Next slide, please.
For Oakland, well, you said for Northville, but that's the.
For the Oakland
For
County
the
side,
Oakland County.
For Oakland County, but
55% of our voters.
Yep.
yeah.
half our,
Right.
yeah.
Correct. I'm sorry. Just.
In Macomb County, just for reference, they have not had an opt-out provision since 1995, and their last renewal passed at 66%. Next slide. So I mentioned that the communities in our area of the county highlighted in blue here have are exploring this potential partnership. And my understanding that each of the representatives are going to their elected officials just to share information and see if they're interested in doing this public transportation needs assessment. Do we need public transit in this area? Yes or no? If we do, what type? Because there's more than just fixed route service. So we think that there could potentially be a benefit to advocating together with a stronger voice at Wayne County to kind of shape the service that fits this portion of the county. Next slide, please. So what would the project do? We would assess existing conditions. Why, for example, why do communities in this area opt out? And would our residents use public transit? If so, what type? And there's a whole study of demographics. What type of population uses public transit? Sometimes it's seniors, sometimes it's people that have disabilities. Generally, it's not people with certain incomes don't use it. So it just every community is different. What works in Detroit isn't going to work in Northville. Next slide, please. This is a map that shows, again, where SMART is currently. So it's maybe a little bit hard to see, but generally SMART doesn't serve west of 275. So that's probably why most of the communities around us aren't opting in. And so if there is no more ability to opt out, how can we advocate to get a proportional benefit of any millage that may be paid by our residents? So that's really what we're trying to explore. Next slide, please.
And just to clarify, the way it's structured is that our millage would be applied based on the population, not the services provided. So
correct.
You're showing a map that has almost no services being provided, and yet we are losing the ability to opt out.
Correct.
In the funding of the total network.
That's correct.
Okay.
So there's some opportunities, like I mentioned.
The problem.
The potential regional connection to SMART. There is also the opportunity for more localized regional transit. Livonia has their own transit that goes within the city and a mile outside, or there's Nankin, which is Canton, Westland, Wayne. There's the opportunity to funnel some money from communities in this area to those smaller regional transit systems and maybe expand those. There's also microtransit, dial-a-ride, paratransit. There's so many different options. It's just not fixed route service. I don't think a lot of people realize that. Next slide, please. So Wayne County has started reaching out to communities. I know our mayor has had some preliminary meetings with them. They're going to be providing us some information to review. It's my understanding that they may consider a fixed route service to Northville, but again, we need to study that. Is that what we want or need? If it's downtown, where would it be? What would it look like? Is it just a pole with a sign by the side of the road that says Route 2? Or is it a shelter? Are there benches? What does it actually look like? Next slide, please. So just in summary, you don't need to make any decisions tonight. You're not committing to this project. It's just, are you interested in exploring this project with other communities? We may try to seek grant funding to pay for it. If we can't get grant funding, then there'd be some cost sharing that would be involved, and we'd bring that back to you later.
For the needs assessment.
For the needs assessment, absolutely. And
If we don't participate in the needs assessment, that's okay too, but we should start thinking about what the potential is in 2026 for a millage that could affect our Wayne County residents. So I know I kind of flew through that, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer it.
So let me just augment that too. Again, I apologize. It was on the bottom of the page. I didn't see that, so I didn't work through this earlier. This is one that we're already in it in Oakland County. We are looking for our unfair share if we get monies back or if there's a route coming in. They came a few weeks back, maybe a month ago, and had all the data where Northville people went and who came into Northville and would we use this? We, being the township and the city, believe it probably won't pass, maybe a 2/3 vote. It may, who knows, but we didn't keep it from being out on the ballot. Of course, that's in 26 to be going someplace in 27, 28. We looked at the routes. Why Canton and Livonia, who are both great friends of mine, who are the mayors, they need a lot of routes. You know, the trunk routes, envision the trunk routes on this are 275, are 94, are 696 that way. That's kind of the major trunk routes in and out of Detroit, the way they've explained it. Northvillians go, all the data shows, from here to Ann Arbor, from here to Detroit, from here to the airport. I mean, on major routes. They've showed it. We can verify that. We're just looking, we appreciate the information. All these communities want even more information. We'll be such a small piece of this because it's half of our 6,000, residents, 4,000 voters will be like 2,000. So we will hardly pay anything. I always want more data to make this decision. So it's not to say Northville wants, different routes coming in here. It'd be simple. We'd have one route if they did that and one or two maybe going into the township. But we're not guaranteed we're going to do that right now. We've had a lot of discussion. If not, we'll get the monies back that they would have that route going from 275 into Northville. So this is very preliminary, and you've had a lot of discussion with all the planners. I fully support more information, what is going on, who's going where, and our folks, because you met with all the planners, a few weeks back?
Right. It was more of a staff level conversation to then try to gauge interest of elected officials. So there's no obligation to participate. It's just, it may be worthwhile.
So those are my comments. I open up to council members.
I think doing a needs assessment is great.
Yes.
However, because we are so small, and not just Northville, but the portion this is related to, is I don't know that we'd have a good needs assessment for what our community truly wants. And it's hard to know what you might want because we've never had it.
Sure.
As John said, you can really think public transit is a good thing, which I do, but we're serving this community and this community has never had an option to have a benefit, even for those major, convenience. I don't want to drive my car to Ann Arbor, or wouldn't it be great to have a ride to the airport? All those things. Our needs are very different. But would that be ferreted out in a needs assessment survey of such a large area?
Yeah.
So, and then if we buy in and we get the needs assessment, we're looking at needs assessment that are very much dominated by other communities that aren't us. So, probably the most akin would be maybe a Plymouth, city of Plymouth would be the closest, but they're in the same position, even though they're whole in Wayne County, that it's going to be dominated by other cities that have different needs. And this isn't only about us getting to places by using public transit, our community members. It's about people being able to come here, particularly for employment, which is one of the biggest barriers, in terms of, that commuting. And I know Novi, Gwen Markham has talked about the
Yes, she's been
benefits they've
involved.
had by having improved
On our Oakland County side.
and on the Oakland County side, particularly, but she's more spoke to about it in Novi.
Yes.
In the Novi
That's the
area,
need.
that they've seen good benefits, but I just worry that the needs assessment really wouldn't be.
Well, if you're interested, we would define the scope more and then bring that back to council.
This
So
is your 40,000 foot level
This
to
is just a
say
very
what you've
high
learned
level
so
view.
far.
So good idea, but I don't know how, particularly if because it's always good to pull your resources and have a higher level needs assessment. But in this case, I don't know that. So, but I really appreciate this information. What would the millage rate be? What's being proposed?
It's still being determined. So the amount to be levied or the term of the millage hasn't been determined yet.
Yeah. So, you know, for the greater public good, but we're always left out of the loop, not meaning to be.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Others, go right ahead, John.
I kind of already gave away some level of where my perspective or head's at on the topic with my initial question. I think anytime we are going down, and I appreciate the update and frankly, us being aware of what's happening and the potential implications on our community. But anytime we have a conversation along these lines, we need to say, is the benefit justify any increase in millage or tax? And we have not seen that in the past. I haven't seen a plan that would make that likely. And I feel like a needs assessment would ultimately, we would be overwhelmed as part of it. And so it would tell a wonderful story that just sends our tax dollars to another area. And don't get me wrong, I have experienced and appreciate the value that a public transportation system has. But if we're not gonna see those benefits within our community, then our residents shouldn't be funding them. So I would just say my general commentary is we appreciate the feedback, but need to tread lightly as we think through the approach with this.
Thus the reimbursement, if we don't have any lines that coming to here, that's the discussion with Wayne County. It might not be a dollar for dollar, but it might be 80%, you know, if our millage. They're working through it right now. Livonia, Canton, that's why they're out, they want mass transit. They just haven't been comfortable with what lines were going in and out and what they're paying into it. But we might get more of a refund than lines, I think, for farm. But that will come out in the next year or two, but that's a lot of discussion.
And part of it was you'd have to have some transit related authority to use the refund on.
Right, great.
Justin, I'm broadly aligned with before. It's not obvious to me what the benefit is on this. We have less than a square mile south of 8 Mile. We're in the corner of the county. There is no freeway within 3 miles of where we're sitting right here. Canton, Novi, Livonia all have multiple freeways going through.
Yes.
They're gonna have multiple stops. As far as I understand, we don't get to pick our stop, and it's probably gonna be a function of a much larger city next to us. So it may or may not have benefit anyway. It would be a really high bar for me to be interested in this. Now, I'll preface that by saying I did live in Europe for several years and the transit was great, but that was a much, much higher density area. And even then, those communities lost a ton of money in the end. It was not a net benefit with respect to like net cost per dollar traveled or anything along those lines. I think it's something that seems great. I think if you have a much bigger community like a Livonia or Novi with major freeways and net branches that come off of it, but to ask a smart bus to come 3 miles off of 275 or past 275 to maybe drop off a handful of people every day, I think is just, that's going to be tough for me to get behind.
Do you want to pose? Oh, Laura, did you want to?
I'm not interested, but I will hear whatever you say and I appreciate you, but I.
And don't take this as
She
me
is very
advocating for
interested
it.
in the
I'm not
information you're giving.
advocating, I'm just sharing the information.
As the rest of them, I'm uninterested in that.
Yep.
So
I
Good
will
point. You
report
said
that
it.
back.
What's on our mind?
Thank
So
you.
this is it's a little Machiavellian, but so we can't opt out.
No.
So now, if I look at the trends from Macomb and Oakland County, it tells us no matter what our voters do, it could pass. And if we don't advocate, we could end up, because if it passes, it passes. We cannot opt out.
And we can still advocate separate from.
So, right. So, it's sort of like if we just, like all of us are like, there's a reason we've opted out, right? A good reason, but now that's taken away. So now to what extent do we need to play well with others to be able to get something for our community, assuming the pattern of voting in the other 2 counties holds here?
Right.
So that's more of the.
Good point. And that's the township and the city are in lockstep that we would want money back. So if we put $1 in, would we get 80 cents back? We don't know what those numbers are, but we've had a lot of different meetings. We're not holding it up. We didn't opt out. We want our fair, I was going to say unfair share coming
we're
from that if
usually-
we don't use the services.
We're usually a donor community on many things.
Right.
Certainly you see that on our school, the
Yes.
ISDs.
CIA.
Yeah,
Right.
and so that, it's just a matter of getting nothing. It's different when, right?
We thank you for all your work and keep meeting with them, get the information if they want to come back in here again. you will be the expert in the city.
I don't know if
I've had
I
to get
need or
involved,
want to
and
be the
I
expert,
said
but
no
I'm
for-
happy to share information.
You're sharing with me information. You're not turning me, but it's great information. You know, I would like to get our unfair share back because we are not going to have multiple routes. You know, the max in life, my opinion only, we would have a route down here to the farmer's market area or something, you know, whatever it is. But that is not anything I'm supportive of. But where Livonia and Canton, they're going to have 10 different routes going through. We don't really need a route coming into Norfolk, but it'll go on the voters deal. And as I told him, I shocked him. I said, I think it's 2/3 going to be a no. I'm just letting you know right now. We just need what we're going to get back on that. You know, I know I shocked him, but it's not a big shock to me. Good. Anybody else from in here? Nope. Anybody in the audience here? Any comments on mass transit? You can see we'll be getting more information. I'm sure you'll have a little link where we're going to make things more simple on our website if they want to see where they are on mass transit on Wayne County and what meetings are coming up. I would encourage you to get that rolling too. Great. Going once, going twice. Okay, please come right up. Yep. And I'm going to open it up for those online and you're going to say it again. Go right ahead.
Down for mass transit if they can come Sunday through Thursday in the afternoons.
Duly noted.
I'll be
I
signed
knew
up
there's
for
going to be
that.
something. Thank you very
Give us
much.
the money. Also,
I
I
just
know
allowed that
something, I'm
clapping
gonna
for fun.
cheat, I'm gonna cheat. Good job on the farmer's market, all of you, because just a good job for
Thank you.
saving that. pulling that
We
up.
appreciate that.
I hated Laura's idea, so you guys did great.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Janetti Front. Anybody else in council chambers on this for mass transit? Going once, going twice? I'm closing off comments here. You just say it again for the next 3 sections, how they can raise their hand. How many people are online right now?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've got 31 listening or watching the broadcast.
Okay, great.
We have no hands raised at this time for people calling in. But
Okay.
if you would like to call in, you're watching the broadcast and make public comment, follow the instructions at the top of the agenda.
Right.
Call the toll-free number. You'll be admitted to the meeting, and then we'll call on you when you have a comment.
They have a number, so they're on their computer, they have their phone, they can call a toll-free number and get in. So it's not quite as complicated as we're making it.
Just like listening to 760 AM and you want to call in and make a comment, you pick up your phone and you call them.
Okay, sounds good. So I don't see any hand raisers on this subject. I'm closing off public comment on that. And again, thank you, Justin. Sorry to not get you up there right away. So let's go to new business, and you're on this. Consideration of approving the second reading and the adoption of Article 8 condensers and generators. Tell us a little bit about that. Again, we had the first reading, we got a lot of comments. We'll talk a little
So
bit.
we have received a lot of comments since the first reading was approved 2 weeks ago. A lot of concern from residents relative to some regulations with generators, portable generators not being allowed to run in the evening hours relative to keeping medical devices going. There's concerns about the sound regulations. We've just gotten a lot of feedback. I think the mayor and some of the other staff has also received feedback as well. So request for some changes is what we've been receiving.
So we appreciate, the first time we had a large discussion. There's a lot of technology out there. Believe it or not, some of these new generators, they're hybrids. They actually run on electric engine to begin with from solar for the first hour or two. So if your power goes down. So we're a little bit archaic. And I think Councilperson Krenz brought this up. And there's more insulation than there was before. And they meet all the standards, you know, from the government. This is a little bit more archaic. How many feet, what's going on? We had an input of people, okay, I can't use my generator. The problem wasn't, I don't think as much the house generators, all the generators you get at Home Depot and Costco, they're all regulated. They have a number that they can emit into the air, which is probably less than the blowers and our lawn services that are out there. But there's a lot of input as people really looked, and we looked into it. We wanted to hear it before, but my opinion is we need a little bit more study. We got a lot of great work done by the Planning Commission over the last 7 months on that. And you asked for you to take a look at it a little bit closer and to look at those inputs that we've had. I'm personally comfortable with a little bit more work from your standpoint. And then you'll come back with us with maybe some of those modifications from what I've heard. I would feel comfortable. So tonight, I know I don't mean to go forward. I am not comfortable to approve it the way it is. After everything we've gotten in the past month, I think you can work, you're diligent, sleep's overrated, you're working 24/7. Look at all those things to make it easier for everybody. And some of those things that were brought up, we brought some of them up in the meeting and we were going to modify it in the future. We talked about that, but this is a chance to get it right. And you pushed, I know, George and myself to let's listen to all these, and we did. And like Andrew brought up a lot of technology. That is where I'm standing tonight. So if we do a motion, it's not going to pass unanimously, but I would be open for my opinion.
Mayor, I'll weigh in too. This is the whole reason we have two hearings.
Right.
Is you socialize it, you look at how it affects the people we're serving.
Absolutely.
You get the feedback loop, and then we decide if we want to go forward. I think that there are legitimate questions that have arisen that I think it's appropriate for us to step back, pull this off the table and go address. There's not an urgent need to do this tonight. I would also support walking back, addressing the questions, doing another loop on this, because this is very sensitive to a lot of people who need generators, medical conditions, neighborhood noise pollution. This is one we want to get right. And it's got to be reflective of what the community is looking for. And they've asked a lot of good questions that I think we need to take a moment to just go take care of. We have to show our diligence on this one, is my opinion. But Justin, great work so far, but I think there's more to do.
Yep, and great work by the planning commission. They worked this so much. I reached out, there was one line in it too, not to jump in, I'm sorry, usually I let everybody speak first. There was one line that said, even if there's a major storm, abnormal condition, there's an emergency, our deal said you can't have those different activities on the different full house generators. I called Van Buren Township, I called Livonia, I called Canton. They all, under emergency situations, of course you can have your generators. Of course you can have your portable ones out there. That was a line in there, which I was a little uncomfortable the first time, if you remember we talked about, but that came up again. So I tried to call people in this area. They all have that line, unless major situation that came with storms and power outage. So others, go ahead, you can go first.
You sure? Oh, okay. Mine will be very simple. I'm comfortable deferring this, but not deferring it in the short term, but not in the long term. People need relief now, as we know. And so we spoke last time at the when this was introduced and said there's some things that gave us pause. Sounds like there was few, not that they were horrible, they were an improvement, but we were going to see, you were going to, keep in touch with what the feedback you were getting on applications and currently installed. And then we would be fleet-footed to make those adjustments, right? It didn't have to go through the laborious process again. What I'm hearing is there's more, and I don't doubt that, but we can't say it's going to take us 3 more months to look at this, right? I don't mean to put pressure on you, but we need relief for the people applying now, right, in the near term. So
Justin, how many applications are active on generators or have been this year? Well, how many are we talking about?
Almost a dozen, I would say.
Okay, so it's a dozen, so I understood, I co-signed with what you said, but it's not hundreds.
no, but the pattern is they get denied at BZA.
Right.
They can't, you know what I mean? So what happens is they come in and this means our current rules stand. The way the current rules are written and the way our lots are and our lot lines, it's very, very difficult, the practical implementation. So they go to BZA and they just don't meet the criteria. And so it fails. And so we're going to have more of those. So I am fine putting a pause on this. But I would expect even when we fix things, when we make those edits, we're probably still going to find things that we're going to need to retune.
As we said before, we're going to hone this and hone it. And exactly as Barbara Roski Brown mentioned, this is weeks and months, maybe. We're not talking quarters, until you're going to come back. You're going to.
I don't want to make any promises, but potentially your first June meeting, I'll have something.
Great.
And that's reasonable. What was worried that because it took a long time to get here. And you have a lot on your plate, right?
The good news is we meet pretty much weekly. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've had five Mondays in a row, what comes after a Sunday, one of our council meetings.
Yeah, I'll take 10 seconds on this one. I've expressed to a number of you, and I know I had at least one. There were several other neighbors that were here earlier tonight. One of my favorite things used to be sitting on my neighbor's front porch when we did lose power and the quiet and tranquility of downtown Northville. Now it sounds like I'm sitting on a park bench in a train station. So I completely recognize the benefit, and I'm glad we're having the conversation. I also think it's important that there are times where, as you read citizens' comments, you recognize there's gaps in what we're looking at. And so I fully support deferring it. Let's revisit, let's get it right. And we can come back and vote on this when we have something that we're comfortable on and has addressed those concerns.
Are you comfortable with that, Justin?
Yes.
Okay, great. Anybody else for Justin?
I just want to make sure, Justin, take your time, because I feel like the data you collect is going to be from the people, and it might just take some time to talk about it.
Sure.
Nothing's going to be, we don't all live in the same lot line. We don't all live in the same earshot. So just take your time.
Equal but different. And again, not pushing you to be the first June meeting, but sometime in months. So
Work expeditiously to get it done.
appreciate that. Again, sleep's overrated. Good. Great. Any comments on this from members in the council chambers? Going once, going twice. I'm closing off comments from council chambers on that. Anybody online of the 30-some people? Okay, that have their hand up at this point?
No, just the
Shouldn't be
31
too
on the
long.
broadcast and no
Okay.
one has called in.
Okay, great on this subject. So we are closing that down. So we are deferring that. You don't need a motion to defer today because we're correct.
I think we
Or
need.
do we need a
a
motion to
defer and
Okay.
force to defer to refer to staff for feedback, to incorporate feedback received, and to come back with further recommendation for council in June.
Okay.
Is what I would say. Does that work, city attorney?
Yes. Is that correct?
Does June work?
You're comfortable
though?
with that?
Are you sure? Okay.
To come back on a
Could be-
timely,
could be
let's
late
not put the
June.
gun to his head to make sure it's June on a timely basis. And he sees us every day. He'll
Yeah,
know what
just
the
in
timely
case.
basis is.
I agree.
Okay, yep. Great. So no, you can
Oh,
stay
no.
right there. Don't be going anyplace yet. So we have a motion. Do
Did
you
you
want
approve
to,
that?
you want to say that or say
Do we need
ditto?
any comments at this point before we proceed? Public comment?
Yep.
I think he opened it up.
Yep, we did.
Yeah,
We
we already
did.
Okay, we got online.
Yeah, we got
I'm sorry,
everybody.
that was the prior one.
So this is our
All
deliberate.
right, I'm sorry. I would like to make a motion as noted by the city manager.
Okay, so you have that. This is all taped, So no, for the past 10 years, you can go back every one of these meetings, hear exactly what was done. So sometimes we might be a little quick in the motion. We heard it and we'll go back and every one of these is redone as we did different notes in the past, but
It's even easier to access because it's now on the YouTube channel.
so now it's on the YouTube's channel. So you YouTubers out there. So there you go.
So Mayor, just a point of clarification for the motion. It was mentioned by the clerk that was, or Andrew, as George said, but I think you amended, you changed that to be timely versus June.
Yes.
Is that-
So if I did not make, so I'm not an
Is
official
that,
motion.
are we
no, but
comfortable with
wait.
being timely
Oh,
versus
no,
a
I
June?
meant Andrew,
Yep. Yes.
Yep. Are you comfortable with
Appropriately
that,
said,
the amendment to that?
yeah.
Accepted.
Great.
Okay.
So we have a motion with slight modification to be timely.
Yes.
We're not going to say June 1 for you to come back. Do we have support for that motion?
I
up here?
support.
Okay, we have support for that motion. Any other discussion on this one? Seeing none, I think we can vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Great. Thank you. Now you can go sit and enjoy life. Let's go 9B, and I think is that you, Sandy? So this is solid waste and sewer and water. Every year we look at different rates. Didn't mean to get your thunder stolen here, but go right ahead. It's all yours. Thank you.
So first we can talk about the solid waste. We're in a current contract with Priority Waste for another 2 years, and there are inflationary increases built into that contract. The residential rate includes trash, recycling, composting, brush chipping, fall leaf pickup, and household hazardous waste disposal. The proposed increase is 3% this year, going from $50.50 bi-monthly to $52.02 bi-monthly. And then on the water side, just to give you a little bit of history, Last year, we did contract with Municipal Analytics to do a water and sewer rate study. We did ask them to update it again this year. We did review the water and sewer fund budgets a couple weeks ago on April 14th. We've had several sessions with OHM explaining the needs for the $24 million infrastructure improvements. Partially, some of it is due to a consent order with the states. We are looking to issue bonds closing next month for $15 million. And the debt service payments are currently estimated to be approximately $1 million a year over 25 years. So kind of up on the screen, I did a summary. This was reviewed during the budget session a few weeks ago.
All right. You made it a little bit bigger this time. Thank you.
So we do have the water going up 10%. A lot of that is to cover the debt service payments, but it also needs to cover the maintenance, the operations, the debt service, and to make sure we have sufficient cash reserves in the funds. So that is, the water is proposed 10%, the sewer is 3.55%, and the ready to serve charges for water and sewer go up by similar percentages. So overall, the average household using 9 units of water bi-monthly will see an increase of approximately $18 every 2 months. That equates to 30 cents per day with the combined water, sewer, and solid rate adjustments. It's about a 6.6% increase overall for the average user.
Got you. So I know Mike is here and we went through this in great detail. Eagle EPA basically shut down our 2 500,000-gallon tanks, which are below water. It's been there since 1917 or so. So we have to pump directly in the tank. And this is something we have to do. They're shutting down our water system unless we do that. So I know you went in great detail. I condensed about an hour into about 30 seconds. That is part of that. So we believe we can do that. More users that come on, then theoretically that's paying for it. And we won't have the increases theoretically if we have more people on it. I know we look at it every year. Did I leave something out, Mike? I know usually I don't talk right to the audience, but I'm looking at Mike on that. Is that correct? We don't have a choice, for 100 years. We could have kept updating. If you look at the pictures, I think you were scaring us. It looked like a medieval dungeon where these tanks were on the top and some of the valves didn't work. And Eagle and EPA found that out and they looked at all that. So way before our time, and we're getting it ready for the future. Yes, it went up and we have that little surcharge to help on the pump stations, but we can't bury water in the ground anymore. The pump stations are built to go directly in the tower. Is that correct? I know we're on solid waste and sewage and the whole bit.
So, and I don't know who's going to help with this. This is a recollection because we had so much information and we made decisions last year about this rate increase. And the recollection is, this is sticker shot in terms of the 10% and the 10%. But my recollection is that so that we didn't have sticker shock, all of us, sticker shock in that first year, that getting us up to the rate, we were going to do it stepped. We will hit a point where it won't be the 10%. Right? I can't remember what the multi-year step increases were to ease us into it. Does that make sense?
We showed 5 years of significant rate increases. I mean, no one is saying this is a small increase, but when you look at the blended rate, obviously we think it mitigates it a bit. The reality is the system is, as the mayor said, it's an over 100-year-old infrastructure we're using. The infrastructure from Eagle just has to be replaced. It's a risk to the water system the way it is now. The water is good. I drink the water every day, but it has to be replaced. It has to be taken out of commission. There is a long list of things that need to be done to have a reliable water system for the future. So when you look at what goes into these rates, this is only the rates of running the system. There is nothing else here. It's buying the commodity from Great Lakes Water. It is building out the distribution system and maintaining the distribution system, the staff to do that. That is really all that's in these rates. And then it's divided up amongst the water users. So it's a challenging situation because you could argue that for the prior 20 or 30 years, there was not sufficient reinvestment in the system. And I don't want to second guess what happened, but but 30 years, 40 years. And now we are left with a system where we're taking tanks out of commission that are over 100 years old, and they can't be in commission beyond this.
Yeah.
We have asked for extension, and it's got to happen.
Right.
So
and-
that is a big portion of it. So the 5 years, we have, I don't want to say that 5 years, we are going to level off at that
No,
point. We can't
but-
see the future, but our goal is that these are the significant increases to do this big glut of work we need to do and to keep the system functioning. But beyond that, I don't know if
And
there's. any other-
theoretically, intellectually, the more users we have, then the less it's going to go up. We will have more users. We're not going to have less users. So that should assist in the billing on that. And I'd ask Tony, this is a legal edict, from EPA and Eagle. There is no choice on this. Otherwise, we will be shut down. Is that correct? I mean,
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I mean, when they make these determinations, they do them by administrative consent orders that give you absolute deadlines and absolute obligations. The failure to follow an ACO, an administrative consent order, can be tens of thousands of dollars a day in fines.
Yes.
I got you.
And they have extended us because we say we have a plan, we're developing a plan, here's the plan. We've developed a very in-depth plan that we announced to the community about a year and a half ago in a special public hearing. Then we developed the rates. Now we have a bonding plan.
Right.
So the entire plan has been in development. So they see that progress and they have granted us extensions. Is that right, Mike? Because we are making progress on
thank you
that.
for the work and you with Mike and your whole team.
Yep, so we had to come up with a plan, feasibility study of it, and then everything that George outlined, we have asked multiple times for extensions, but we're working with them right now. So, and we're right now in the permitting stance right now.
Okay, don't go anyplace yet. Is there any other questions from councilman? We talked in great detail on this. This was a hot subject a year ago. We have no choice on it, but you modified it. They pushed it back a little bit. And no, we don't make a dollar on water. We're moving forward, all these things we're doing. I know people think, oh my God, we raised this money. We don't make a dollar. It's a pass through here. Our administrative and the water is coming just to handle that.
And I'll just say, as an enterprise fund, it is to run its own business. It runs it as an entity. There is no profit. It's
like a 501c3.
It covers its costs. It covers the costs of running the service and providing the service.
And like the mayor mentioned how old the system is. I mean, the last time that any type of significant improvements to our overall water system was back when we did connect with Detroit Water back in the 1950s.
Yeah, before my time, and I'm really old. Yep, that is correct.
Been a long time.
If you haven't seen the dungeons, it's almost unbelievable. We will take a lot of pictures when it's done, but.
In the overall project, not just the reservoir removal, we'll be replacing several thousands of feet of water main lead service pipes. We're going to be putting in 2 pressure reducing valves within the system to help with our overall pressure, fire protection as well. Right now, we're working off of Great Lakes Water Authority's pressure, which gives us numerous of breaks throughout the city.
Right, and we had like 30
This will help
water
us
main breaks at 100,000.
control.
So water leakage is what right now? 15%, 17?
It's actually, I think, like 13, right?
13?
Yeah, around 13. So,
Which is down from 23,
yes,
24 at one point.
yes.
Because we have one of the
We
oldest
absorb
systems
that,
in the state.
So if you fix that, that can.
We're seeing the meter replacement program, actually work.
Assisted.
It's, we started that in 2020, COVID hit. We got delayed a little bit on our meter replacement. Now we're seeing that recovery. But we still have many leaks every year, construction projects as well, and also fire training that use water.
The other thing I wanted to mention, of course, that we've announced this for the public is there is this app that you can use to log in and set parameters on your water system. And if you're away, you can set warnings. So if something happens and you have a leak somewhere and it pops up, it can give you warnings on your phone. So it's really great way to manage your water utilization and keep a track of it. So it's not a surprise at the end of the month. You can see what's happening with your water utilization.
It's a good feedback. I started using it about a month ago. It's really helpful. I set usage rates, it would trigger, set them lower if I'm away from home, and it's wonderful.
And just to talk on that, if you try logging in and you weren't able to successfully maybe your meter has not been replaced yet. So we can take a look at that and call and schedule an appointment. For some reason, if you do get it to work, and it's not working adequate, meaning you're not getting your 5-minute reads or your hourly reads, it might be just because the radio device on the outside needs to be relocated, which call us, DPW will come out and we'll try relocating it. So we get a better signal.
Yeah, I only get.
I see a lot of folks, citizens come in and they have it by the hour or whatever in there. We had somebody come in last week. They had a $4,000 to $5,000 water bill for 6 months in a row, and they just kind of realized it. I think I'd realize it, but they weren't following it. They know to follow it now. Imagine, that's a lot.
Yep.
That is a lot. They thought the sprinkler heads got knocked off, but the water for the sprinklers are off in the winter, so they had an opportunity. So we educated them. We probably need to educate them again on the website so people
On our
can
website, I
monitor.
believe we have some helpful tips for, checking for leaks.
Right.
Toilets are the number one.
Right.
So.
That's somebody living in a different world than I
And
do.
it is unbelievable.
But,
I
got two
and
in
I
my
knew
house
them.
right
I go,
now.
and you didn't notice.
The-
$4,000
the
or
only-
$5,000 every 2 months.
The only thing I was going to add, in addition to the consent orders, that I think is important to know is this also includes, in terms of the overall project, replacing where we have lead lines within town, as well as improving looping, which for those who haven't been to all the prior discussions, it does represent a fire risk. If we had water go out and we can't reroute the water, we don't have a successful loop, that creates a dangerous situation for the residents on that street. So there are some things in addition to the consent order that I think are basic principles that do significantly improve the overall system. I don't think anybody likes paying the increased water bill. But I am glad that we're addressing some of those problems that we need to take care of, frankly.
And this will augment some of your street construction too. If the water lines are right underneath that, we will have to replace that.
Correct. Yep. So
that's in the plan.
One of the biggest key things for replacing streets is the infrastructure underneath and
Right.
getting the water mains done. We'll also be working with, other private utilities like consumers on DTE during these projects to get everything upgraded so we can resurface the roads after.
And we've reached out. Rosemary Bear is our senator. She's in charge of water management. We're looking for grants. This is the absolute worst. And every time we seem to find grants on everything, you do a great job. We are looking for some support. It's not going to take it all down, but it'd be 10% maybe of that nature.
Yep.
Whatever it's going to be.
We're always keeping our eyes open for
So
any
we
grant
appreciate all the
opportunities.
work you've done
Yep.
on that. Got money for roads from the governor you did and others. So that assists us and the taxpayers. Good. Any other questions for Mike up here? Okay. Just stay close. Anybody in the audience on this subject? Come right up.
Raising 370. I have a problem with your math on this stuff. When we originally were going to do the ready to serve, you guys said our water would go up 10 to 20%. Is that right? My water bill has gone up 70% because of that. So how do you explain that? 10 to 20%, it's up 70%. I got the bills right here if you want to look at them. Tell me why I should pay another 10% when I'm already paying 70% more than I was when you guys said it was going to go up 10 to 20% last time. I want somebody to explain it to me.
I think that will probably be in that tomorrow. We will get back to them.
All right, because I've got my bills with me.
Yep. I know. I think I saw a couple
I was trying to
spikes.
talk to
back
Mike
there.
about it. I don't understand it. And I do
Sorry,
have
I know
that.
I'm engaging.
I do have that app. It does work.
Yep. I like it.
But like, I've got one day back in February, I used 252 gallons of water. I've never used more than 100 gallons of water in a day since I've lived here. And nobody can explain to me why. And there's a couple other residents I've talked to the same day they had a spike. So I don't see why I gotta keep paying when I'm already paying 70% for something that was supposed to be 10%. Because if you're going off these units just like this, I use 4 units every month, not 9. So my bill should only go up, what, $7, $8?
Right.
If go by your math. That's what I want to answer to that.
And there has been, I get about every question. There's been some anomalies on water, just in what I've seen coming up here, and they're looking and reviewing that, and DPW's in it. But 2, the less you used, because I've seen a lot of water bills that I didn't used to care about, but I care about every one now. The less you used, the higher the percentage it went up. So if you used $100 a month, if you used $5,000 a month, like this one, or every other month, it's not much of a huge increase. But on some people, especially our seniors, we doubled their water bill initially. If they did $50 a month, now it's $100. So I got it.
It's
Yep.
10% of, if I use 4 units, it's 10%. If I use 50 units, it's 10%. So I'm not buying that story either.
We will get back to you, but I understand. I've probably seen 200 to 300 water bills. So I understand where it's going. Anybody else on this one? Going once, going twice. I'm closing this off for council chambers. Of the 30-some people, is there anybody with the hand raised on water sewage?
No hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I'm going to close off Section B, consideration of amending fees for solid waste and sewer and water. We're closing that off. You need a motion to go forward with those rates. It's in your package. Just stay close, Sandy. Do any of you have that in front of you? Would you like to go forward with a motion? Oh, I know you're all searching. For
I
it.
can
probably give
do
to you.
it. I move to approve the amendments. I gotta change the English here. I move to approve the amendments to the City of Northville fees, fines, penalties schedule as presented with an effective date of June 1st, 2025.
So we have a motion. Do we have support for that motion to amend?
Support.
Double support.
You can give
I
it
don't
to
know if
him.
we get, okay, I'm giving, who do you want?
Okay, you can give it to, probably with sound came to you first.
Okay, I'm giving it to Councilperson Krenz. Is there any other discussion on one? Seeing none, I think we can do this. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. It passes. You have it. Thank you very much, Sandy, for staying
It
here
passes
tonight.
as a painful necessity.
It is. Number C, this is the last thing on the new business. Consideration of the resolution to establish a standard for city council minutes. Would you like to
Yes, I
start with
certainly
that?
would. So we've had lots of discussion, city councils and township councils all over have this discussion about what should be included in the minutes. What's included by the state law, the OMA, is quite limited, actually. It has very basic things that give you a sense of what happened in the meeting. If you think about it, you take the outline of the meeting, the agenda, and you fill in basically what the actions or activities were. So we've had some conversations here over the last couple of years about what our minutes should be. And I think the conversation went around the issue of should we be including the conversations before and after motions, the conversations from council, and then how do we do that? So every time you have a situation with minutes, you have the most perfect set of minutes, which is a transcript, which is really verbatim. Nobody does that. It's extremely difficult. It's costly. You could have a court reporter there, and some cities have actually gone that route where they sit and write down everything that was said verbatim. And then you can go all the way to the OMA requirement, which is a very basic set of what the actions and activities of the day were. Everywhere in between there's an element of discretion, and the discretion comes to staff trying to figure out what was the important elements or aspects of that, and what should I put in here in terms of people being pro something, against something, people coming to the podium. And it really does create quite a bit of time, activity, and effort to get to that level of detail where you're using discretion. And then you're open, of course, to the criticism that you're favoring one thing or not favoring the other. You're favoring this policy view or not favoring that policy view. And it really puts staff in quite a difficult position. In this situation, the city pays for and maintains the Diligent platform, which maintains videos of the minutes, of the actual city council meetings into perpetuity. My last place I came from, we have 12 years back of videos. Like here, you have, I think, 10 years of videos. So someone can go back and look at the actual discussion as opposed to a minutes, which may be summaries and conversations that may or may not actually reflect exactly what was said. And that's always kind of problematic for staff. What this does is provides the template for what we're supposed to have based on the OMA. And I think that from Michaela, who our new clerk, who's had experience with this in her last municipality as well, I think this is a good way forward for staff, council, to address the concerns of council.
And we reached out to CWW for Michigan Municipal League and SEMCOG. Just about everybody does it this way. We're fortunate, like you just mentioned, we're one of the few. You can go back and see the video. You can see exactly what people said and really how they said it too. That's more important than sometimes the lines. So you can go back forever. Before I became the mayor, seems a long time ago, I went back for 5 years. I listened to every one because I just wanted to get a feel for what was said. So I think Lansing's one, we're one. Very few do that. Some are just recordings, of the meetings, and most of them are nothing. So I appreciate that. And Michele, we talked about all these people in the Detroit area. Outstate too, you came from there as a clerk. You're finding that your notes were condensed down there too. Is that correct? You were telling us on that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
We went from, in my previous community, having the resolutions in the minutes in their entirety. In my last role, tried to encompass some of the comments, rather than going into the minutia of it, just saying, such and such council member spoke on X, Y, and Z, and tried to limit it to that, because I encountered issues where recollections weren't necessarily the same, or things didn't come out the way someone wanted them to. So we just try to avoid that and stay impartial.
And did you have a video transcript of everyone in yours?
We did, yes.
Okay, so that's good. So you had that to go back on.
Correct.
Okay, great. So that was on the western side of the state and here. So any input? from Councilman?
I'll start off, Mayor. So I spent a fair amount of time with this too. And the way I see it, the minutes, Michaela, you can check me out as much as you want here.
Yep.
They're essentially a technical document. These are the facts of what happened. And broadly speaking, based on what OMA requires, it's not obvious to me that we need to have you creating interpretive statements on that document that may or may not have reflected the nuance of an issue. I also know that the entirety, let's say a transcript of the document shall be the gold source. And the gold source is the video that's online with the words coming out of our mouths. Indisputable, in context, the entirety of every discussion that we have. So having looked at what communities around us done, the township does something very, very similar to this. Milford and Dexter do something very, very, very similar to this. They might put a paragraph, maybe 4 lines of a summary of the broad discussion. And then one thing I really like is they put the wording in the resolution, because as a consumer of the minutes, I want to know what the resolution was and who my representative voted for. And then, or how they voted for it. And then one thing I would submit we could do that bring us into the future state today is you can assign chapters onto YouTube videos and then connect the chapter of the YouTube video to that discussion in minutes. That takes you directly to the topic and it makes it irrefutable what was discussed. I haven't seen anybody do that. I think we should do it and we should be first. I know this because
That'd be good.
I know this because my kids
working
make
on it.
YouTube videos and I know all about that stuff. So
YouTubers.
I think if we went better than what everybody else did and say you embed the minutes and create chapters in the YouTube videos and go back into the video itself and have them click on it so we don't have to fast forward through 4 hours of us going on, I think that'd be exceptional. Greg, George, you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, so in my last place, we actually did you can do a timestamp in the.
Oh, so there's
agenda.
somebody else. Okay.
So there is a way to
All
do
right,
it,
so you
and
found
it is extremely nice because you can say, get to the issue of the generator ordinance. There's a little camera
Yes.
picture, you press it, and then you just jump right to that chapterized section. So that's our goal, is very quickly to get to the chapterized agenda where
Perfect.
people will not have to go look for a conversation on this. They're just going to press the button and it's going to jump to that.
That's,
It
and
saves
that's
people
what
a
we
lot
should
of
have.
time.
That's what we should have. It should be,
That's what we will be
this
implementing.
is what the topic was. This was the wording of the resolution, maybe a small summary, who voted for what, and here you can go watch the entirety of the transcript without having you interpret something that's subjective versus the quantitative matters of the minutes. That's where I'm at.
It wouldn't be in the minutes, it would be in the agenda of the meeting once published.
Correct.
After it has
But
been
it
published.
is those are statements of fact that are in those minutes. And then you can go back to the subjective discussion, which is the transcript online. That's what I would support.
And if I can add really quick, I did dig into Diligent this afternoon and I did find out how to do that. So if that's the direction that council would like to take things,
good.
then I can work on getting all of the.
It's not Star
videos
Wars. You can
online.
get it done.
It needs to
That is
be
correct,
as
yes.
efficient.
By
as
June
possible
1st,
for
like
someone
with
to
Justin
find
on his other
research what we
opportunity.
did.
Sure.
No, that's great.
I appreciate all the transparency. I agree, accuracy is important, but at the same time, it's recorded and it's, for the public. I think there should be a summary for sure. It keeps it readable and efficient to produce, and without a transcript. So that's where I stand.
John?
All right. I am apparently not the YouTube expert here, so if we can do that, that's
Great.
I support
Yeah,
it.
that's above my pay scale.
I will acknowledge that we've had discussions where in summarizing the comments, there's an attempt to try to put intent. And then we end up here trying to say, well, that's not what the intent of my comment was. And we end up going round and round.
Right.
And you can actually create a dynamic where there's two versions of the truth, the video and the minutes, and that's a challenge. One piece of feedback I did receive was I like to go to the minutes and search for references and content so that I can get to the discussions. And in a Word version, that's easier than in the video. Chapters does help with that, in fairness. One thing I would like to look at, I don't know with YouTube, I know with Zoom, because we do this for work, you can use AI, and I know everybody has their thoughts, but to create a transcript of everything that was described, and you can put that up online as well. So if we could look at that as well, I think having the video with the transcript does allow people to very quickly access any conversations, what we discussed. Just something to look into as well as we try to figure out the right balance here.
One other tip, if I could, on YouTube, when you scrub a video with the playhead, you can stop the playhead at a particular point. There'll be a timestamp that coincides to that playhead. You can actually copy that timestamp and then you can use that as a link into the document. So that's.
So they're right in our
So then when you
notes.
Vote that took
Yep.
place, you can stop the playhead right at that vote, copy that stamp and then send that out to.
Start thinking about that because you'll be in that seat. So we'll use that picture.
Do that. Anybody can go online. The public,
Great.
anybody.
Okay.
It just makes it much easier to know.
But even on the notes, I envision almost that little picture with that number on, so they know, whatever those four things we covered. Great. Okay. Great. Barbara.
Yeah, so I have some questions, so I'm gonna walk through, I'm gonna start with the memo, although some of it comes over to a resolution establishing a standard, so I'm gonna start with that, because that's the topic of the resolution. When I go to the information you referenced, which I had the MML, it's a really great document, right? So if you go to so let's just start with that one, because it's a little more ethereal into the Michigan clerk's documents. There's Boot Camp 101 and things like that, but let's just stick to the MML document, which is referenced here, which is it's a very good document. They don't use the word standard. What is the word they use in theirs that includes the recording of minutes?
Are you asking the clerk?
Yeah, I can help with the answer if you want.
Well, if you know it, why are we asking? the
Well,
question?
because it's written as standards, so I'm thinking, am I missing something? It could be in a different document. It's a rules
But
of
we're all
procedure.
looking at the same document, right?
Okay, it's rules, yeah, it's the one cited, it's Michigan Municipal League in conjunction with Wells C. Cook, professional registered parliamentarian, developed a handbook for municipal officials in an effort to improve quality of governance. The title of it is meeting agenda and minutes. And if you go to the table of content, it's rules of procedure, and everywhere it talks about, because this is rules of procedure include agendas, minutes, how do you address public comment? So all kinds of things. And the minimum requirement is laid out in OMA. So it's not a standard. It said at a minimum, you have to do this. You have discretion to do other things. There's also cautions about what not to do. But it's the rules of procedure. So one is, we should just call it what it is. This is a part of a broader rules of procedure versus a standard. So it's under that. The other is if you look to OMA, it's meant to reflect, and George and I talked about this one, it's decisions that are made, which aren't necessarily always official actions. So how do we incorporate when something's on the agenda legitimately, and it's great because it's brought to us for discussion and guidance. And so, but there's no official action taken, because an official action would be a motion or approval of a resolution. So how do we, and I know it says here, reflect the official actions in the analysis, but it's not, it's reflecting decisions that are made here. The other is going down to, I know when we go into the second paragraph analysis, it does highlights the discussion, but as what's in the parliamentary summary here is, there's a lot of issues in minutes that don't have anything, that's only one of a dozen topics that they cover. right? So, I agree, it's across the board. Thank you, Andrew, for talking about what you see in other communities. It's really quite varied, in what we see, and we can make those choices. As long as we meet that minimum, we can make those choices, and I think this is a good discussion to have. I think it is, even though, so the last is, it says the Michigan Municipal League and Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks strongly recommend limiting any highlight of discussion in meeting minutes. That's not what it says. So what it does, it says, here's what the minimum is. And then they talk about, many people do incorporate, some level of that. It could be, it's background. We talked about this, George, to provide some context of why are we doing this? So just, it's a summary, which we get in the background and analysis, boiled down. But it is nowhere in the document or from the professional association or the MML document you cited. They do not strongly recommend limiting any highlight of discussion in the meeting minutes at all. I can read what they say.
Are you referring to the MML handbook, the general officials handbook, or the handbook that's on the minutes taking? Because there's two separate documents.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the one that's referred to here. This is the one that talks specifically about meetings, agendas, and minutes. It's a great document. And that's the one that's by the parliamentarian cook that's mentioned. Are you finding it?
Yeah.
It would have been nice if it was
I've reviewed both
attached.
of them based on this discussion.
Yeah, so it's not highly recommended. Now, they do have a caution in it. But it's more, this only talks about the highlights of discussion. But again, there's many things about minutes. And the one thing that was striking to me in the clerk, the Municipal Clerks Association, was one of the things they said related to discretion on minutes is that the minutes should flow from the agenda. So you agree, like what topics are in the agenda? That varies too. We include things in our agenda that we've used by tradition that are not required under OMA, including the Pledge of Allegiance in terms of the comments at the bottom, and even adjournment is not specifically required. There's a motion to adjourn, but not adjournment as a topic. So I'm really worried about going to a minimum required because we get rid of a lot of good things we do now based on our agenda items. I do agree that we need to limit, I'm fine limiting highlights of discussion. While they say both bodies talk about many do it, many recorders, which is person recording the minutes do it. You have to do it with caution and it's dicey. And they actually have recommended ways to do it to try to keep you out of hot water, writing what's in there. But I guess in this particular thing, I just worry that we don't realize we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater in terms of, number one, we're not dealing holistically with rules of procedure, which would talk about what do we want to have in our minutes, in our agendas? How does that flow to our meeting minutes? And specifically, it does recommend in here, how do we deal with public comments? In terms of how do we record a public comment? It's got recommendations in here, which I know we're talking to George aren't ones that he likes, and we can do what we want. But I'm worried that number one, it's not a standard, but should we take a holistic approach, that we say, here's our agenda, here's what we're having as our agenda, here's what our minutes are going to be, which includes more than dealing with highlights of discussion and that aspect. So we're doing only a piece of it, and it's sort of like the tail wagging the dog. We haven't dealt with agenda. So on that note, it does, so this is a whereas. If I look at the second to last whereas in the resolution, we're dealing only with highlights of discussion, but then we're saying we're going to go to it. That can't be the only thing we're addressing when there's so much more. So it says the first whereas says what the minimum is, right? Does that say what the minimum required is? And then the last The second to last states about the highlights of discussion after a motion has been made do not have to be recorded in the body. That's true, but it doesn't say what are we going to include in the minutes. It does, this resolution does not say that.
I think it
So-
says, good.
In what way, where? How does it?
So George and myself and the clerk all worked on this resolution, and the only portion that is important in that regard is now therefore be it resolved that the Northville City Council hereby acknowledges the obligations regarding minutes as set forth in the Open Meetings Act and will limit official meeting minutes to the content required under the act. And so then if you go over to MCL 15.269, which is that portion of the Open Meetings Act, it specifically notes the date, time, place, members present,
Right.
members absent, any decisions made in the open portion of the meeting and the purpose or purposes for which closed session is held. And then it shall also include all roll call votes taken at the meeting.
Which is.
So under that required, therefore be it resolved, that's what we would be including in the minutes. The other portions, like the other documents are also obviously available, like the reference to the videos and potentially getting the transcript from the
So-
YouTube.
So Tony, you pointed out what is minimally required, and I agree, and that's what, and I'm glad you clarified, because that's what we're approving. But let me tell you what we're giving up that won't be, because they flow from our agenda, which by tradition we've done, right? That's only by tradition. We could have a rules of procedure on that, but by tradition, we're giving up any, we usually, the clerks in prior, and you probably follow, you sort of block copy the agenda and then you flow from there, right? But if we're going with what's required by OMA, we wouldn't mention we had a pledge of allegiance. It's really dicey. We're not sure how we're handling public comment, and that should be addressed. And it's actually recommended in at least the MML document that be addressed. And then presentations aren't addressed and aren't required to show up in minutes. Also, mayor and council communications, city manager communications, and technically even adjournment as it being, in there. So I don't want to throw out the good things we do in our agenda because we're saying we're only going to do the minimum, which is what we're doing. So
I think that you first and then I have a.
Yeah, so I think that no one was suggesting that there would not be a full agenda of what happened. You open the meeting, you have public comments, you have a pledge of allegiance. Nowhere in here did it envision that you would put item 3, item 6, item 7, and that would be the only minutes. So, but if you're going to take it that literally, we can add this item at the end and say, and include the full agenda so that we're knowing we're including the opening, pledge of allegiance. But this is speaking to the fact that there's supposed to be actions and motions and activity and votes, not necessarily. We said the city manager then talked about why water and sewer or talked about this. Our notion is there. Go back to the minute.
Because we have all the videos. We talked to Michigan Municipal League, Dan Gilmartin and his team on this. We talked to a lot of different people. Most, not just most, probably 70, 80% do it the minimal. We are very fortunate. You can get everything out there. I'm comfortable with those pictures, where it's at in the video, and some bullet points. We don't have to go War and Peace on everyone, but 3 or 4 bullet points to describe whatever the topics were. And, that earmark of it's at 22 minutes, it's at 27 minutes. So look at the video that's online. I'm just a little bit more than the minimum, just a bullet point or two to say what that subject is so they know. Some subjects are pretty straightforward. You know what they're talking about. Just a line or two to understand,
I do like adding the full agenda.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yep. I would absolutely concur with
So,
that.
and by the way, it is having that somebody's able to go through and be able to push on a segment if they want to hear a discussion on rates or, like water rates, what is.
Is that correct? That's what I
huge.
heard.
But the other thing to remember is in this, the minutes as approved they're part of the permanent record. Technically, the clerk has them for 30 years ago, right? I mean, the video, is not saved in perpetuity. So it's just that the videos are great and having something that indexes it to make it easy so it's not a burden. But meeting minutes last a long time and it's something that is referred back to. But it sounds like what we The intent is not as described in now therefore be it resolved of what wanted to be accomplished. So the way it is read, and it is the way it is, George, it will limit official meeting minutes to the contract required under the act.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that assessment that you were going to say minutes would be item 4, item 6, item 10, only when there are motions. I think that this would envision that the meeting agenda would show there and they would just show motions and actions. I think you're taking a
Presentations,
specific
activities.
argument on it, but
Okay.
No,
Is there a way though, if
We
we
can
have if we have a real or perceived ambiguity, can we change the language to make sure that everyone's on the same page? 'Cause I think we're all in agreement.
I think our goal is to make sure that the motions and the actions are specific enough to be able to say what occurred during that meeting and what actions took place. And this is also, if we think that we have to have a little bit more activity in this and a little bit more detail, we can come back and discuss it and council can give that direction and we can talk about it further. I think that when you look back at the subjective nature of it and trying to have staff capture what people thought and what's important, it puts a subjectivity into it. I think this would be more objective by eliminating that.
Right.
And I think if council wants to go have more discussion and more elaboration, longer motions, making sure all the specifics are in there, we certainly will take that guidance and we'll look at it.
Are the videos kept in perpetuity?
So they
that's why I
kept for
gave the-
10 years, could we, I guess?
That's why I gave the example. My other place still has, now I'm counting on 14 years back. So I
So
don't
we
think
might
unless
look at
YouTube
that.
disappears, the videos aren't
Yeah,
disappearing.
but they're not,
So,
they're not.
I also think we're a half step behind where technology's going
We
on
are.
this.
We are.
We have to know that the world's coming at us pretty fast right now, and if we need to take old videos and run them up against AI and put a
Absolutely. Put
transcript
them
and
in
save
the
the
cloud,
word file,
done.
that exists already.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's correct.
So that, to me, that is hardly a concern.
It's the AI companion button right
We
there.
can capture
Yep.
any and all videos into a transcript within seconds.
Right.
That
Absolutely.
is not a problem.
Correct. And when the
We
capacity
should
there's
do
a
it,
cloud
and
to
save
do
that
it
into
all.
perpetuity, or as long as our life cycle management and records requires, Tony.
So note to, I will do a roll call vote on this. So let your vote state where you're coming from.
So there's not going to be any change to that now therefore be it resolved.
No, I would recommend if council wants the option, you take out the first and at the last line, act, comma, will limit official meeting minutes to the content required under the act and include the full agenda. And that's to make sure that the opening pledge is written down, that the agenda is written down, and then the OMA you fill in the information around.
Comments.
And theoretically, presentations, you
Yeah.
could say the
Well,
presentation was
yes.
on this, ABC.
And things like presentations
Right.
and communications and things that we just provided guidance on, but there's no official action, right? So,
Right.
But that's a part of the agenda saying that that presentation was done on the,
yes, with your change, George.
That's right, with the
Without the
change.
change, doesn't work.
I'm comfortable with the change, with saying what's on the presentations and
And
what
if
have
we
you.
get
I'm
this-
comfortable with your word changes.
and if council's not satisfied after we go in this direction, then we will to your council's direction and we will go back and elaborate more until we get to the point where people are satisfied with it. So that's our commitment, is we're going to make sure it's the way council wants.
Was there any other comments that we have?
I think we just need to take advantage of the technology.
And it
we
is-
have. We gotta make it easier to navigate. We gotta free up Michaela to do other things besides interpret what I'm trying to say up here on any given night. I think that we have that in place. I fully support the amendment here. I want to make sure that it's above that minimum, but includes the agenda. I think it's appropriate. You do the YouTube timestamps. We do transcripts.
And you're
based on
comfortable to do that.
Videos from AI interpretation. All the tools are there and it's really easy to do. So I'm completely good with this.
And the attached agenda, so they know what's going on.
The other suggestion is establishing rules of procedure for Northville City County meeting minutes, because there's not such a thing as a standard. So the technical correct way to is rules of procedure.
If the city attorney's great with that, I'm in completely.
Yep.
That doesn't, I don't think that, we're fine with that terminology, right?
Yeah, either way, I'm totally fine with that. You know, again, I think it was Councilman Krenz that referenced that these are a business, like, from my perspective, these are very much a business document. And it's so important that I can go back 40 years ago, 40 years ago and have a concise set of meeting minutes that say the council voted 5-0 to approve the purchase or to authorize the city manager to execute the following documents. And I can use that as an exhibit. I use them as exhibits all the time. And those are the essential functions. I think the additional stuff that we're talking about is great and it's best done through the use of technology, but I don't think it needs to be part of the record.
But rules of procedure is what's,
Yeah, and that's fine.
that
We're
is, the
comfortable.
that's
Put
the
the
accurate.
agenda on,
And
we're
it's
comfortable with
capital,
those
it's
words.
rules of procedure.
Okay.
It's capital.
John, did you have anything? We didn't mean to leave you out.
No, I already weighed in earlier.
I thought so.
I'm
going for-
I'm good. And the other thing I would highlight is each of us can't act individually
Right.
as part of council. It takes a majority. So you're actually capturing that because the actual action from council is when we vote and whatever majority rule comes out of that.
We said even those
Not
comments at the
necessarily us
end, it'll be
pontificating.
comments, the mayor and council members. You're not gonna capture that on it. They can go on the video to see what we said and stuff for being here. The way I heard you say that. That's fine. Fine. Great. We are done discussing this. This, you can come up and give comments. I am opening this up for 2 minutes for anybody too, before we look for the vote.
Mary Ortiz.
Yes.
I had a few questions and a comment. First of all, I don't know if you're aware that either on YouTube or on Zoom, you can use the closed caption function to create basically a transcript. However, it is auditory learning that gives you the transcript, and you will get some wonky words like Katie will be Katie.
Could get the drift.
You know, but you get the drift of it. So you have that capability of doing a transcript at this point, and everything is timestamped, you know, so you can kind of speed through the conversation. It's, you know, it's not AI, it's not high tech, but it is very doable. And that tells you exactly what was said. And if you watch that alongside the video, you know,
Yep.
you get absolutely the context. I do have a concern about it. It sounds like I'm hearing two different things. I'm hearing George say that the videos are available in perpetuity, but are they? And sound like Councilwoman Moraski Brown said that they're not. So I would like clarification about, I don't mind going to this system as long as the videos are always going to be available.
Right.
And what happens to the videos that we had prior to Diligent? Are those going to be saved somehow? Or is that a different problem?
So again, in my opinion, what I heard, we should be able to upload those, the 14 years.
Well, Mayor, I think the videos prior to Diligent had minutes that are already associated and approved to them. So to me, those are what those are in perpetuity on the record.
But
And then any video that would ever be destroyed for any reason, you would create a transcript off of AI and post it on the website. The tools are there. The information will not be destroyed.
But it shouldn't be dependent on the platform we use.
I agree.
Okay.
And I think at
I
this
agree.
point,
But
we
the
are,
platform
I
enables.
think you need to think that part of it through a little bit more. From Diligent forward is one thing, but what happens with the archive of old videos is really not something you've discussed. And the other thing you might want to look at
But it shouldn't.
is Robert's Rules of Order are kind of specific about meeting minutes too. And you do also rely on Robert's Rules of Order
We do.
in the council. So you haven't had any discussion about what Robert's Rules of Order say. You might want to put those things next to each other
No.
and answer some questions. I really don't think you're ready to vote on this tonight.
Of course, that was the discussion. I know we're back and forth and I'll let you leave in a second, but I'm giving you about another minute here. In the sense, Michigan Municipal League, SEMCOG, they all have Robert's rules. I mean, they've given us this guidance too, but I
Yeah,
understand.
but
I
Robert's
understand.
Rules of Order is very specific about what needs to be captured in meeting minutes. So you
Yes.
might want to look at that.
Understand.
Maybe not as the gold standard, but
Right.
as a source of input.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing I would like to say, which is a little bit slightly off topic, is we can see that 2 minutes for public comment is clearly not enough. If you look at what transpired tonight, almost every single speaker exceeded the 2 minutes. And you said if it was not working, you would reconsider it. I'm asking you to reconsider it.
Thank you. Anybody else on this subject? Your son-in-law.
Request to get my 2 minutes.
Absolutely. I think you know where he lives.
You don't need his 2 minutes.
Go
You
ahead.
got your own.
Go right ahead.
Burns 392 Fairbrook Court.
Okay, Billy.
So meeting minutes are important and the discussions that lead to outcomes of votes are even more important. People rely on minutes if they can't attend meetings and don't have hours to watch a recording. Minutes create a historical record of past meetings that remain long after the video recording disappears and they're a sign of good governance. Citizens want independent, transparent government with checks and balances. This move, along with a further reduction in public comment allotment, down 60% from 5 minutes to 2, and the effort to essentially strip the DDA of its autonomy are all moves in the total opposite direction. You point to two professional governance associations to support the move. How many other standards are there that you don't reference that strive for more accountability in the minutes? And why should Northville abide by the least stringent recommendation? What's broken with the current system? City council reviews and provides input on minutes prior to their approval at the subsequent meeting. And these minutes are scribed based on audio recording of the actual discussions. To me, this implies the minutes become partial only if one, the individual compiling the minutes misstates what was said and city council doesn't move to have the minutes corrected, or two, the individual compiling the minutes is given direction to be partial from city government. City council is an elected body. Having an accurate written record of your reasoning and decision-making process on matters is extremely important to citizens. This move just degrades trust in the city government. You'll approve it because it limits your exposure on any topics deemed controversial, but you shouldn't approve it, both out of respect for our institutions in Northville and the precedent that it sets moving forward. Numerous members of council have emphasized the importance of transparency in your roles, and this flies in the face of that. In their meeting minutes, cities like Livonia, Novi, Farmington Hills, and Birmingham all include commission and council comments that may have had an effect on the subject matter. These cities also state that comments may include a summary and discussion quote, which may be relevant for future reference. Why shouldn't ours? You can spin the reasoning behind your decision to approve this, but make no mistake, you're actively voting for a less transparent, less accountable government, and we notice.
Billy. Anybody else on this subject? Going once, going twice. Closing off comments here. Is any of the 30-some people with their hand up on this
You're now at
opportunity?
36 and there are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, very good. So I'm closing off public comment. On this one, even though we did a lot of resolutions and different motions tonight, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Is there any other?
I would like to address, so
Sure.
I think it's important, I think, to the comments that were just made.
I know.
If we are maintaining the full transcript
Yep.
and the video in perpetuity, I think we're actually driving more transparency, not less. But I think we need to
That's the
make
motion.
sure that we are committing to that.
Okay.
So that is the one gap that I see here is how do we make sure that we, and whether it's
in the
adding
motion.
a whereas, I think it is a very fair thing to say,
What's that?
I'm comfortable with this if it's going to be around and I can 10 years from now look back and see
Yeah.
the videos, the transcripts, the information available.
Yes, and that from the point, this point forward, the city will make certain that video record or transcript is maintained. Because our notion is the YouTube platform and Diligent will not disappear without notice. It is just not going to happen. But if it does, we will have time to notice and steps to make sure we are preserving our video. So that is pretty
Just
much
a
an
gold
absolute. I bring the point up to say that cities have been doing this for a certain amount of time, and that video all sits out there still, and it just keeps being added to. Videos are not dropping off and videos are not disappearing.
Going from one platform to another, they're
Yes.
still out there.
And it's still there. So we certainly would not let our videos disappear. We would make certain that we would do something to preserve them or to preserve a transcript.
I would be open to do that as
And I also want to build on the comments here. Every single word, my whole point here is every single word is available. It was not available years ago. Minutes were. I want to make sure every single word I say up here, 100% is readily available and accessible. That was not the case. Zoom meetings. We're doing Zoom meetings that 90% of the community is not doing that they can call into. That's clarity. I'm making absolutely clear that old videos shall never be destroyed, and we should also write transcripts to go with them so you can go pull them down to a Word document, do a Control F on every single word that I say. If I'm trying to hide something, this isn't how you do it. I'm sorry. So I'm in full support of what we're doing. I do full support everything that we do, that our archives are maintained completely. I know YouTube will not delete videos if you have an active channel, but we should not rely on that. We should always have a backup source.
Right.
We should also, when the time comes and tools are available, like I said, do an AI interpretation. And I believe the statement was correct that some of the words may be a little bit off, and we're gonna have to get to that. But AI, of course, is only gonna get better and better and better. It probably already did today because it's going so fast. So we have 2 or 3 different long-term permanent records of every single word that's said here, and I want to make it more accessible. Let that be on the record. On the video. Thank you.
Any other comments on that?
I'm good.
So who would like to do with the change? So what I hear before I will listen to that motion, we will add agenda. We will add the comments on the.
And I'll note, it
And-
already says the city of Northville maintains video archives of all public.
I thought it
meetings.
said that,
So
though.
it says it
And we
there,
will
are
look-
maintaining these video.
So we know
archives.
that. We'll look at different platforms internally to make sure it's always there, but
Well, the
did you
verb,
hear what was
the
said?
verb tense says we do it currently. It doesn't show the commitment that was described today. So
So if you would like to.
Yeah, let's modify.
does that, you see what I'm saying?
Yep. Do you want to modify that? You two work out to make sure the words are
I'm not seeing
comfortable
the word
with what
for
we
it,
just
man.
talked about.
City of Northville maintains, it's just. this is-
City of Northville maintains video archives of all public meetings.
I think the argument is we're saying it maintains, it's a commitment to, and will maintain. Going.
Give me another
forward.
word. Make it stronger.
I think that's it. Maintain
Okay.
video arc, maintains and will maintain going
That's a-
forward.
I know who's reading the motion.
Okay, do you have it? Go right ahead.
That's a modification to the resolution,
Okay.
just so we're on
Yeah.
the same page.
You don't have to read the whole.
So I don't need to repeat, as long as we all accept the
Okay.
resolution being updated with
So
that
the
language.
resolution,
Yep.
I think somebody should read the resolution again, so everybody hears it on tape.
What the change was.
The change.
Yeah, George, if you had that.
Yeah, so it says now therefore be it resolved that the Northville City Council hereby acknowledges the obligations regarding the minutes regarding minutes as set forth in the Open Meetings Act will limit official meeting minutes to content required under the act and include a full agenda.
So we have that motion, but you can't put it forward. Somebody will have to give that
Well,
motion.
I think, correction, it's not to include the whole agenda because the agenda, it includes all items in the agenda. 'Cause
The agenda
is-
and all, you want to say the agenda and all items in the agenda?
Well, all items associated with the agenda.
Okay. Okay. I'm fine with that. Scribble that in. On the bottom, yeah, fine.
Any other edits?
You got it on that. Any other changes?
Still go.
Do you have it? Have it? We got it? Who's going forward with that
The
motion?
rules of procedure was also going
Rules
to
of
be,
procedure on the heading, correct, instead of standard rules of procedure.
and then you already, I think they already got the change on the now therefore be it resolved. George, you had you had added that and on it, so.
Yep.
Okay. So we have that. Who would like to bring that forward?
Motion to, what would be the best words on this one, Tony?
It's just a motion to
It's a motion
approve the
to approve
resolution as amended. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we have a support for that motion?
I will support it.
Support. Any other discussion on that motion?
I'd just like to thank my fellow council members for making those
Absolutely.
changes. But I still say these are half-baked and don't, so I'm still very uncomfortable, but I thank you for making those changes to at least improve what's before us.
Great.
Is it, what are we missing? And now's the time. I don't want to hang.
No, I
hang
don't
that
think
out
we,
there. What are
no, I
missing?
don't think we need to belabor it. I made my statements on that before of, and so I just want to know, I want to say thank you for making, for talking through and making the changes that you have.
So with that, we have a motion properly supported. We have additional discussion. We'll ask for a roll call motion.
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Janetti,
Yes.
Councilmember Krenz.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Morosky Brown,
No,
Mayor Turnbull.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. A lot of discussion on this. This has been talked about for some time. You have it. I'm very interested to see all that technology, to see the picture and where it's at. I'm very interested to make sure we have this when I'm long gone for the meeting tonight to be up there on the cloud in different platforms. So I think we've heard that out there. So from that, thank you for the work. Good discussion on that tonight. With that, we're going to go to number 10, Mayor and Council Communications. Just very quickly for me. Big weekend last week. Farmers Market, I saw some of you out there. It's a great location, crappy day, and it was a lot of action down there. Crappy day, did I mention? We all got wet. Derby parties going on in town, the oldies, the senior center. It was great, the Derby party. Proms and seniors eating dinner downtown, the Norfolk Corral. If you walked around town Saturday or Friday, crappiest weather known to mankind on some of those nights and by Sunday, but it was fun to see actions going around town. And the skate park had their 1-year anniversary. You know, the bands were playing out there. It was cold, not as much beer consumption than on a hot day. You know, some of you like to party a little bit more, but that was great too. So things in the city, things in the township, you know, in and outside, you know, the downtown streets. It was great to see the action. So I saw a lot of you at a lot of those things, and the seniors, you know, they were partying, weren't they, John? Yep, absolutely. So that's all I have. Thank you for that. And again, if you haven't, somebody mentioned, I got to go down there. On the Riverwalk, they are starting to daylight both ends. It's fantastic. I think you can see through there. If somebody put a little patch in there, I'll make sure you can see it. It's unbelievable, especially like today, the way it was roaring down there. Go on either end. They're waiting for bridges to be delivered to daylight the middle of it. They have to do the embankments on the bridge with the river over there, but it's quite something. So walk right on 7 Mile. You can see that side. They've started taking it down. It was rushing today, and right by the bridge on Beale Street. So I'll make sure everybody can see it tomorrow. I didn't realize that. Sometimes I go inside. I know we'll lock that up a little bit more, but that's all I have. That's more than I probably wanted to say. Anything from council members? John.
Well, I guess I mentioned it earlier, but we've had a couple people come in since. So one is May 18th. We approved today a celebration of Gigi, a 6-year-old who successfully defeated cancer, has come home. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's leaning in and supporting it. It's going to be an amazing event, including our own Janettis, which will be leaning in and helping as well. So great opportunity for our community to come together. Speaking of which, the Bicentennial Task Force as well. We packed this room a few weeks ago on that as well. There was a lot of great activities, events, partnership with our local businesses, our residents, anyone who's interested. The next meeting will be June 5th, but great opportunity to get involved. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight is we approved the Victory Run on September 6th. That is actually going to be renamed. This was not my decision, but I appreciate it. The Declan Carter Victory Run. It will be a charity fundraiser. As many of you know, he ran with OLV, but also was heavily involved with our runners at Northville High School, Hillside, Meads Mill. It's going to be a partner event, bringing a lot of those schools and the surrounding schools in the area together. And I've heard rumors that even Councilmember Krenz is going to get out there and run a 5K. So it could be a fun time.
He's not running anymore.
And all of it, once again, will be a charity fundraiser. So great opportunities to come together and support our community.
Thank you, John.
I just have one. I just want to thank everyone who did public comment tonight. It is not easy. I was there a year ago, and it's not fun to get up and talk about tough things in your community, but I appreciate everyone that did tonight, good or bad, whether I'm on your side or not.
Great thing.
Yeah, Mayor, I'll keep it quick. So I guess I got to start training for a 5K, which sounds absolutely terrific. So not one to run.
There's a mighty mini mile too, if you want to downgrade.
Now we're talking. We'll see. Also tomorrow, planning, couple site plans. If you're in Bealtown, you might be of interest on 220 South Main. That's right next to the Wealth Building right there to come on in. And then also some minor modifications on the restored building at 342 East Main as well. BZA is canceled. Also, if you haven't yet, 19 of our closest friends and residents who have been over at Oakwood and restoring the cemetery and doing what we should be doing as a community in such a hallowed place. Absolutely outstanding. So I give credit to Chuck Murdoch and David Merrill for pouring into this community.
Great work. If you haven't, walk in there, you know,
it's
the
exceptional.
stones on either side, right off of
You
Katy.
can see just how much of a state of disrepair it was in, and then what us and the team are going to be doing. I'm excited about that. So other than that, I'll keep it short. Thank you.
Great. Barbara?
Yeah, well, I want to address a couple things that I heard. I do also appreciate everybody coming and speaking to us in public comment. But what we heard was some safety items that are less. And one is, and I noticed this and I keep thinking maybe it's going to change from when I'm talking about when the bollards went up, so the street closure went in. When we did the traffic, we hired a traffic engineer to do traffic flow assessment, traffic management. One of her strong recommendations is that the lights at Main and Center and Dunlap and Center do not go to blinking. She actually recommended from a safety standpoint that those stay with the To stay that way, and also to have the pedestrian crossings activated. I noticed that they aren't. And so, sometimes we wait for Wayne County. So I guess my,
Activated meaning painted and
no. These are the actual traffic
Oh,
signals are
I get it.
supposed to be red, yellow, green. Julie Kroll recommended that those remain activated for safety and that the pedestrian crosswalks signals also remain active. So I don't know if we're waiting for that or if Wayne County's not been given that, but that was the direction and strong recommendation from our traffic engineer. So I would like to see when it's going to be, I guess, get feedback on when is that going to be implemented as we were advised? And if not, why not? I know that's Wayne County.
I think we might get a little input here.
Yes, so the lights themselves are owned by Wayne County. We rent them from them. So we've tried leaving them active as they are currently timed throughout 6 months of the year. And it just does not work with the traffic flow. In order for us to adequately get it to where Julie's recommendation was, new timing has to be imported into the timing of the lights. Wayne County says they cannot do that with the type of lights we have right now. You pretty much have to reprogram the whole system, most likely replace the lights.
What does reprogramming the whole system mean?
So it's an older light.
Mhm.
So the system itself.
So they be reprogramming those lights?
Yes, the time.
Not all the system in the whole community?
Not the whole community, just the ones that we're requesting.
Okay.
So what we're requesting is the lights go back to your normal green, yellow, red. However, there is a delay in between. So at some point, the whole intersection is stopped as a red to give pedestrians time to get across. A little bit more delay. So we've sent those over to Wayne County. They worked on it all winter trying to actually get the timing put together, and they have not been successful. So still working on them with that. We might be able to get them get it incorporated, or might have to replace the lights. So
And just leaving the lights as they are just does not work. And that we heard that from the gridlock that occurred because the police, if you recall that time, the timing wasn't, is that correct?
correct. So
It
when the
just
light
did not work the way it was, just leaving it like it was did not work.
did not work, yes.
Well,
There was a lot of traffic issues that were called in.
So I guess what I would say then is this, if you're running into barriers to safety at those intersections, because by the way, those are not safe intersections any time of the year. But in particular, when we have this change and going with the Julie is, what else can we do? So if Julie Kroll made a recommendation, we're not able to implement it, what would her plan be?
Yeah.
Because where we're at now is not good. So
We can look at that.
yes.
You can look into that.
Well, and Julie's great. Julie knows the community. She's familiar with it. And maybe she could come up with a plan B.
Yeah, actually at one point, and probably not many noticed it, but we went in and installed all new arrows and all the lights because that was part of her recommendation to have certain lights be green arrow. We have them sitting at the DPW yard right now. We can't get the timing worked out with Wayne County. But we have the parts and material.
Well, Julie cares a lot about those so I just, hopefully maybe she can figure what can we do without the optimum, what can we do that's better than we had now, which is if now is not good. The other is I want to thank, just in terms of, it was mentioned about down security and down site management, in terms of dust mitigation, street cleanups. And I would just say that I know I've been talking to city administration about that, and I've been assured that there will be improvements coming in terms of monitoring, implementing oversight in some of the requirements that, and particularly in the Dust Bowl syndrome that we have at the south side of the site and lack of, the fencing and the dust mitigation. So hopefully we will see some change in the future. I was heartened by things that George talked to me about last week. So.
George.
Just a couple of things I will note about the dust. Staff still has additional staffing on staff, continually monitoring the Downs property. That's our building official. The additional time he's not in building official, he is down at the Downs observing the site. We also currently have OHM. That will be something we'll be looking at in the future. But there is continual discussion with staff, with the developers, and we're going to be working on that to make sure we're keeping it at an acceptable level for people. I wanted to mention and say that next May 19th, our next meeting is 2 weeks from now. We certainly appreciate council having 5 meetings in a row because we added 2 budget meetings. April is a busy time for council. We appreciate your attention to all the extra work and meetings. So 5 meetings in a row, we had a budget meeting with the overall budget presentation. And then we had the capital, focusing on capital last time. Next time, May 19th, is the budget public hearing and looking for council's approval at that time on the budget. Certainly thank staff for all their work on that as well. And I think that's what I have.
And just to add to that, we discussed before, we had great meetings and the budget went through everything in detail. That is one of the only meetings I will not be at during the year. You know, I'm here every time, May 19th. So that is your meeting, as I mentioned before. I know
Thank
you
you
love it
so
tremendously.
much.
But you have my proxy. We talk through everything. You know where I'm standing on that. So I know you'll miss me tremendously in the whole bit, but I
I
will not be
will.
there for the May 19th meeting. Very unusual for me. So with that, I'm going to continue to ask for a motion for adjournment, even though we may or may not have to. Do I have that motion for adjournment?
No, you have to have the motion, you have to do a motion to adjourn, but you don't have to have it as part of your minutes.
So moved. Do we have a second to that? We all will. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.